What up, people? What's good? Salute.
Yes, sir.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Salute to the tribe. We're hip hop and comics and hip hop. We're a niche channel. Reserved for the best. It's super dope. I do sell comics. Check me out on Instagram at 6th_element_comics. Yeah, because comic books are the sixth element of hip hop.
Your mic is not on.
Yeah, I'm trying to get... Okay, here we go. Got the mic on. What's good? It is the sixth element of hip hop. I am your host, Reno. Y'all already know this is my co-host, Sada, right here. And Stu Dog will be joining us momentarily. What's up, guys? How y'all?
Doing good.
I have a good week.
Yeah, I had a pretty good week.
Yeah, I hear Stu Dog was at the pumpkin patch tonight. You know,
in the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah, I seen some new shit today. Well, yesterday at the grocery store, they got green pumpkins now and white ones.
Really?
This is new to me. I never saw this. I only saw the orange ones. But yeah, it's a new, I guess, new breed of pumpkin or gourd.
Yeah,
or
probably
something.
Genetically modified or a lot of dye.
It says something on the tag, something like, color something or whatever. But then you could tell they're a little bit different than the orange ones. Like they got more bumps on them, or they're a little bit more mutated or whatever.
Yeah.
They're probably different species, and you can also pick them before they're ripe. They're not initially orange when they first start growing. They're actually green.
Yeah, these are full grown special color ones that they got now, that they're growing them like this.
Yeah, that's a GMO.
Yeah,
GMO. For sure.
Yeah,
there are many kind of gourds though. You always see the little ones, the white ones and the green ones, and all different kinds of joints. She-Hulk ruined Scar.
Yes, they did.
It ruined his hairline anyway, but we're gonna get on that in a minute. Because some big shit happened. We got 2 finales. We had the Rings of Power finale, which was crazy. The She-Hulk finale, which was crazy. And some Black Adam shit coming up too. But yeah,
we also had a new. There was another trailer I just saw for Black Panther. It was pretty dope.
Oh yeah. Yep. Black Panther is coming with it. Yeah, but that She-Hulk episode, I guess it has a lot of mixed, people either loved it or hated it. I'm more on the loved it side. I thought it was a lot of fun because I'm looking at the She-Hulk show from a distance, like as a comedy. I'm not looking for it to satisfy any sort of like comic, but this was like the most comic accurate show that we've had in a long time. Like it is just like the comics. That's exactly what She-Hulk is like. Savage She-Hulk, sensational She-Hulk, whatever. But they stuck pretty good to the source material, and that's always one of our big complaints. So we got to give it to them for that. They did come correct on that tip. The had a lot of Easter eggs too. A lot. Throughout the whole run, but Tatiana is doing her thing too. Charlie Cox Daredevil, but the series finale started with Jennifer Walters at a low point after being really violated by the show's main villains, the incels, right, known as intelligentsia. However, instead of opting for a typical Hulk smash of an ending. They culminate in a sort of meta trip of fourth wall breaking, Easter egg type stuff. And so just in case you missed one or don't watch or want to know about the show, talking about Marvel's AI, but here's what we spotted. The retro opening, for one, which was a lot of fun. Played almost beat for beat from the practical Hulk smashing to the deep timbre of the narrator mimicking Ted Cassidy in the classic "Don't Make Me Angry" line. And in the intro of She-Hulk, the finale definitely paid homage to the late 70s, early 80s series, The Incredible Hulk, starring Bill Bixby as David Banner and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. And it's corny as hell, but but it also provides a glimpse of Mark Ruffalo looking like a Bruce Banner that we've never seen from the 70s. That's pretty cool. So it was pretty funny. But if you guys missed that, here, let me run it for y'all, because I actually got this side by side with the original show and the She-Hulk show. So YouTube should let me run this one, because it's definitely not, it's artistically doctored. So let's check this out. It's pretty cool.
Jennifer Walters, Esquire, lawyer, millennial, searching for a way to balance a career and her personal life. Then an accidental dose of gamma-radiated blood alters her body chemistry. And now, when Jennifer Walters grows angry or outraged, a startling metamorphosis occurs. The creature is driven by rage and pursued by online trolls.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
She is provoked into a rampage that has landed her in prison, and now she is seen only for the raging spirit that dwells within her.
Pretty damn close. Yeah, but Norin, you're right. I mean, Savage She-Hulk would have been cool. Yo was good. Slade in the
We have
building.
a lot to say about this finale. Oh boy.
Yes, we definitely do. And Hulk Boy said, if you had to rate She-Hulk 1 through 10, what would y'all give it? I'm sure we all probably have a different number for it. Norin's giving it 4 out of 10.
I would say 3 out of 10.
3.
Shot is
Wow.
3. I'm giving it a 9. Stu's giving it a 9. But I think
it was entertaining. It was very entertaining.
I'm looking at it from a comedy standpoint, like as a comedy.
Yeah, I think it failed in that regard. That's, I think it kind of failed for me. But I get what you're saying.
I mean, no, that's why, you are you're a little bit of a different generation than we are, than Stu and I. So that could be, maybe it just didn't land for everybody, because I know some people didn't like it, some people loved it. Slade's going 7.5. So yeah, I mean it's definitely what you call mixed. But again, a lot of Easter eggs. You got the "See You Later" mug. She had a little mug that isn't meant to evoke Oscar Isaac's sad and lovable Stephen Grant Later's Gators, but the show has already referenced another popular Isaac meme. So you got the fourth wall smash, which was really cool. I thought the Disney Plus glitch, because I don't know how many people probably grabbed the remote, like, what the fuck is going on, for a second, and then but they quickly, she pops out of the little screen. It's really cool. She came through the interface and knocked out the other one and popped in and jumped into the other show. And again, man, this is all to be taken very lightly, tongue in cheek, very silly. You got the She-Hulk writers room, obvious satire. Maze Laney's She-Hulk walks around the Walt Disney Company lot. You got home to the Marvel Studios headquarters, until she stumbles on the writers room, where they're wondering if season 2 could be one extended dream sequence, in case you thought that this what this episode was. Inside the room, we see the actual She-Hulk head writer Jessica Gao and writer Cody Ziegler, as well as lots of fun show concept art and planning shit on the walls. But one of the funny gags was, is there something attractive about a man's knees written on the whiteboard? Just silly shit. And let this start a petition for season 2 of She-Hulk to be even hornier. But Matt Murdock did the walk of shame with his bare feet. That was funny. But the Kevin Feige thing, the Kevin, this was obviously a play on Kevin Feige, and I thought it was the main surprise of the finale. You got Kevin and the writers were talking about it's not Marvel Studios head honcho Feige, but actually an AI machine named Kevin, complete with a little hat meant to mimic, Feige's baseball cap that he always wears and shit. And but did the gag get me? Did that gag me as much as Wanda breaking the fourth wall in WandaVision? Absolutely not. But this is the MCU at its most self-referential, I think, and like self-deprecating. But many eyes may roll toward the backs of their heads. But honestly, this was peak dumbassery that made me chuckle. Bottom line. And there's so much to cover in terms of the sly jokes and from Jen poking fun at Marvel's infamous third act problem. She's asking Kevin about when we're going to see the X-Men movies, which was really cute. And sort of making fun of the internet trolls and complaints and shit like that, but in a cute way. In the VFX, from the minute that She-Hulk appears in the show's teaser trailer, the look of her character has been hotly debated, to put it nicely. But looking at her is like staring into the uncanny valley. It's really weird sometimes, almost Shrek, and of course Marvel knows that. So the robot Kevin cracks that Jen needs to transform back to She-Hulk to save money because the VX team is working on the next project, which is Wakanda Forever. And the joke would be funnier if Marvel's VFX teams weren't actually so overworked that it was affecting the show. But you've got the possible Marvel Comics adaptations. And to be fair, there are a ton of comics in Kevin's lair, and most of them are probably set dressing. You got the Doctor Strange, America Chavez, Black Panther, Daredevil, She-Hulk. Was a bunch of them up there, but the optimist in me would like to think that the choices here are clues to the MCU, films coming down the road. And the one that has me especially pumped are the multiple Scarlet Witch comics by James Robinson on display. David Ayer's exquisite cover art is hard to miss. But like every other cool and hot Marvel fan, we are desperately waiting for the return of Miss Scarlet Witch to the MCU, right? No, not at all. But I'm sure we'll get plenty more. But World War Hulk was the big reveal. Finally, we learned why Mark Ruffalo's Hulk was quickly shuttled off to Sakaar in the earlier episode, was to retrieve Scar and his beefed up hulking child with the really weird Buddhist monk haircut. And he's like a 10-year-old, 12-year-old kid too. For comic fans, the name should ring a bell, as he originated in 2007's World War Hulk, in which Scar hunts his father down for a huge Hulk on Hulk fight. And then it's been rumored that, to be adapted for the MCU, and Kevin Feige's talk with Jen, he mentions revealing that Hulk was up to, what Hulk was up to during the majority of She-Hulk, though she quickly shuts the robot down, saying, save it for the movie. But is Ruffalo finally going to get the movie? To answer that, yes, they are going to finally get the movie eventually, because the Universal rights thing runs out in like 2024. So this is building up to World War II. And this was just a comedy.
I know they revamped. I know I was reading that they revamped the deal with Universal. Mm-hmm. They still have the rights, but they don't have as much control over what gets made and what doesn't. I know they were like the last deal they had. Is it? Yeah, I know they still get. I know they still get the Hulk, but they don't get it like they had it. I know that, but I don't know. What I don't know is the intricate details. But I know on the last deal, whatever movie it could have been the best Hulk movie in the world. If Universal said no, it didn't get. Like Marvel had no control. It just didn't get done. Like even Mark Rufio was like, look, like we had a script for World War Hulk. Universal just canned it. Like no, like we're not gonna do it. So
it's
in the
definitely going
future,
down. It's definitely going down now.
yeah, in the future, I hope Marvel makes better deals than what they did with the Hulk. Because Universal is the only reason why we haven't gotten another Hulk movie. Period.
Yeah.
Point blank. Yeah, end of discussion. They literally just held it up. And I don't know. Everybody liked the one with Ed Norton. That movie was dope. And they just But see, that's what Reno. That's the thing. Like Man of Steel, same thing. It was everybody liked. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Man of Steel. They'd be like, "It was good." People say it was all right, and then they always say one thing: "I was waiting for another one." We never got anything. We never got anything. It was just crickets for years. Like it was. We've had movies that were received worse and got sequels, like Highlander 2.
Yeah,
Highlander 2 got how many sequels? Yeah. I mean, I can't figure it out, man. Somebody take me. Somebody go in the Matrix and retrieve my body.
Well, let me see. I got something. The actual contract they said is up, and by the time that the World War Hulk movie is ready to come out, they'll be allowed to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the only reason why we haven't gotten it is because of Universal. They just
Because of Universal,
I don't understand why they keep saying no. They just the deal was just they just get to say no.
Yeah, they Marvel wasn't going to make the movie if they had to, if Universal got, creative say, they were just going to they just weren't going to do it. So they're just going to wait till it runs out. Right. But I had something that I was going to show you about that about World War Hulk, because it. Let's see where is that part. Oh, did I have it over here? I don't know. I guess I lost it. Oh well. Oh, here it is. Okay. So She-Hulk. It all culminates with Scar popping on. And this is built up since the beginning of the show. Bruce and Jen's car accident came from a Sicarian craft coming for them. And then Bruce later talked about wanting to investigate that, and he spent a lot of that season off in space, presumably on Sakaar, the junk planet, which is where he played the Gladiator from the aftermath of Avengers of Age of Ultron to halfway into Thor Ragnarok. And going by release dates and the whole 5 years later thing from the blip, Scar is about 10 to 12 years old. And that's presuming that he was not snapped out of existence by Thanos. Then again, Scar aged up a whole lot faster in the comics. Scar was practically the poster boy for what was the Hulk family era of Marvel Comics. Like in the movies, Hulk did serve as a gladiator on Sakaar, but the situation was a lot different. The Illuminati decided that Hulk was too dangerous to be allowed to roam on the Earth, as a ticking time bomb, natural disaster. So they tricked him, betrayed him, shot him off into space, where they intended him to land on a peaceful, planet to sort of chill and spend the rest of his days. But something went wrong, and he ended up on a ruthless barbarian planet. Oops, sorry, and Hulk's pretty pissed. But in the story Planet Hulk gradually fought his way up the ladder on Sakaar and became its king. He married Kyra, the Old Strong, a warrior woman with the ability to tap into like the planet's energy and grant herself stone powers. Then with Hulk on the cusp of true happiness here, finally, tragedy strikes when the ship that brought him to Sakaar mysteriously explodes, which causes a big blast that kills his pregnant wife, the queen now, Kyra. And then, so driven by rage, Hulk and some of his Sakaarian buddies, including Meek and Korg, return to Earth to wage war on all the heroes in the story called World. It's a tongue twister. World War Hulk. Notably, while the story of World War Hulk was still being told, Marvel released a batch of What If comics, and one of them was What If Planet Hulk, written by Incredible Hulk scribe Greg Pak. And then the main story of the issue had Kyra survive the explosion, with Hulk dying instead. She succeeded in invading and enslaving Earth. Years later, we would see the creation of a massive Hulk statue, and in that moment, Kyra's son would appear to tell her it was complete. Appearing for only a couple of panels, this absolute, little Hulk nugget who looked like a cross between Hulk and Metalocalypse's Nathan Explosion, secretly only a teaser for things to come. At the end of World War Hulk, in the comics, we were shown that through some mystical cocoon created by Kyra, Scar, son of Hulk, had survived. The radioactive barbarian basically lived and fought on what remained of Sakaar for a little while. I think my camera's fucking up. Hang on.
Where'd he go?
It's this damn camera.
He's back.
Yeah, but so where was I? At the end of World War Hulk, the radioactive kid is Scar. But at the time he's Earth. He's coming to Earth on a mission to kill his father, to kill Bruce. And as Bruce Banner was depowered at the time, Scar reluctantly hung around him for a little while, sort of biding his time for Hulk's return so that they could fight to the death, and it would be fair. He didn't just want to beat up Bruce. But this was during a time when there were just Hulk characters everywhere. You had General Ross had become the Red Hulk. His daughter Betty had now become the Red She-Hulk. Rick Jones is the new Abomination, calling himself A-Bomb. Not only did Scar have an insane twin brother, Hero Kala, but also a half-sister from an alternate future named Lyra. So Hulk's everywhere. The status quo led to the 2013 animated series Hulk and the Agents of Smash, which is where a lot of people saw Scar for the first time. Most of the casual audience. Where you had Hulk, She-Hulk, Red Hulk, Scar, and A-Bomb. What'd you say, Sada?
I said how unfortunate that that's their first time seeing Scar in that show.
Yeah, very unfortunate. But it wasn't the worst thing. But they had to alter Scar's origins quite a bit there and removed all the backstory about being Hulk's son. So he is the son. But you had so once the Hulk family era, sort of runs its course in the comics, Marvel, puts the genie back in the bottle during one of his best of both worlds phases, where Hulk had Banner's intellect, but the Gamma Giant, became fearful of what would happen if any of the other Hulks reached the age of mental deterioration, like they become senile and lose control and start killing populations. And so he went on a one-man mission to sort of depower all the Hulks, except She-Hulk, who protected herself with, some legal mumbo jumbo. But Scar was written out by losing his power, though presumably still having his mother's stone powers. He went off to find his own path as a human. And then Scar later got re-gammaed because it's comics, and that's just what they do. But he's not been a big player in a long time in the comics, but that's going to probably change with the sudden MCU appearance. Obviously there'll be but speaking of, what does that mean for the MCU? Because it's possible that we are heading towards a loose World War Hulk adaptation, albeit one where Scar's existence is already apparent. But Universal's hold on the release of the Hulk solo movies is set to expire in 2023. So they have plenty of time to finally give Mark Ruffalo the project that he and we have all been waiting for. As for Scar, although he was never a member of the team in the comics, he probably will fit in with the Young Avengers team that the MCU is probably building. But yeah, after 2023, Marvel has full reins to do whatever the fuck they want with Hulk. So we'll finally get what we've been waiting for.
Right. Well, they have full reign now. It's just that Paramount has the first option to say no about putting the movie out. They
Yeah, you know
also
what I mean.
retain.
You know
Yeah, they
what I'm
also retain the rights. They also recruit most of the profits from the film, and a large chunk of it at that. Disney can produce a film, but they haven't done it because they've just limited Hawk to just solo appearances and cameos because they're waiting for this 15-year deal to just go kaput so that they can say, all right, this is what we're going to put out, and we get to keep most of the money and put out some merchandise, and Universal gets absolutely positively next to nothing, if anything. I don't know who made that deal back in '08 or why you would make a deal so that gave
because they were
much power.
No, because they were going under.
Yeah, wasn't that the time where they were selling everything off? They sold
Yeah.
off Spider-Man, X-Men,
Well,
all
yeah,
that.
but I thought we had Iron Man and all that back then.
No, this is during the Marvel comic bust. This was during in the 90s when Marvel almost shut down. They were selling off everything. That's why Fox bought the X-Men, Sony bought Spider-Man, Universal bought the Hulk.
That's
all
right.
that
I
was back
remember
then.
that. Well, see,
Yeah.
that I remember. But I think the Universal deal was made in '08, so I don't even.
No,
I
so
know
when
I know when they
Disney
made the
bought
one
it,
deal because I remember Universal used to have Spider-Man. They used to have Spider-Man when they opened the theme park back in the '90s. I mean, they used to have Spider-Man and everybody.
Yeah.
But I know the film deal for the Hulk that happened in '08, and that was a 15-year deal. And like I said, it was just I don't know who would make a deal like that. So they have the first
Maybe
option
they
to
just
say no.
didn't anticipate like the whole.
Right.
They just didn't anticipate him blowing up or whatever.
Yeah. Nobody saw this shit coming. Nobody thought that the comic. I mean, because comic movies were always a joke. They were never
That's
good.
true.
It was never. No one ever thought that it was going to be the next, worldwide phenomenon that it is. I mean, basically the next hip hop. I mean, it's the biggest thing since hip hop.
Nah, you're right. It is. You know why, Reno? Because it's good. It finally got good. Like when we were kids, if you would have showed us a movie, if you'd have showed us the Incredible Hulk in 2008, if you'd have rewind that and took that back to like 1985, bro, we'd have lost our minds. Like
Yeah.
we went to the movies like 25 times just to see it.
Oh
Like,
hell yeah! Like
it took a
I'm
year
seeing
for
that
some.
again.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have left the theater.
It took a year for something to even come out on video. And then
Right.
when you got it on video before that, it had to go to HBO. Then it came out on video. You're like, damn. So, bro, we would have been. Listen, it would have been a serious problem in the United States. It'd have been Hulkamaniacs and Hulkamaniacs running around.
Basically, yeah. And yes, The Rock is definitely Black Adam is about to be the next big fucking thing. And The Rock in DCEU, he's gonna be the next
Kevin Feige.
Yeah. I mean, he's pretty much trying to. That's where he's going anyway. That's where he's trying to get to. He's definitely he's got Cavill. He got Cavill as Superman. And they didn't want Cavill back, DC. So he's going beyond what they're, what they want and shit like that. So
Oh boy.
I wonder why, bro. Like nobody can figure out why they just didn't want Cavill.
I don't even care to know at this point. Like what's done is done, and now we're here, and so
yeah. But Johnson, The Rock definitely, he told Cinema Blend that the whole point of bringing Black Adam to the big screen in his own standalone movie is so that one day he can make a Black Adam versus Superman movie. That's all The Rock's into. The Rock is like a Superman fanatic, and he can't play Superman because I guess he just doesn't fit the
No, he does not.
yeah. So he figures this is my way of getting in a Superman movie, be the number one villain. But he's often been asked by fans which character would win in a fight. He said, you know, it depends on who's playing Superman. But when asked directly if he intends to make a movie where Black Adam fights Superman, he says, absolutely. That's the whole point of this man. End quote. He said, I've been saying for some time there's a new era in the DC universe that's about to begin. And what I meant by that was introducing a brand new character. It's not a sequel. It's not an existing IP. It was, you know, Black Adam. 2 years ago, the world had no idea who he was. We did, but not the rest of the masses out there. What I really meant by this new era of the DC universe is listening to the fans and doing our best to give the fans what they want. So, and end quote. But the thing that I'm so hype about The Rock being involved is that's where he's at. Like he wants to please the fans. Like he cares about what we care about. He cares about us being like, hey, this is how it goes in the comics, or this is what, you know what I'm saying? And like he'll listen to us. And that's a rare thing, especially in Hollywood. He stressed
That's special.
it is. He said, I've been listening and I've been wanting to address fans for years regarding the desire to have Black Adam and Superman fight on a big screen. He said, I've been waiting for someone to step up and address the fans and say, hey, we hear you. He said, finally, so after many months turned into many years, we ended up with what we ended up, where we ended up at. The whole goal and intention now in this is to this new era, new time. So let's build out. So and like you said, Stu, that's rare. You know, it's not every day that, you know, someone gives a shit what the fans, you know, think. But Black Adam is visibly ignoring one of the main criticisms that the Man of Steel was hit with, and Dwayne Johnson's sort of character. Well, okay, so freed from his 5,000-year-long imprisonment, the former slave in ancient Kandak turned, you know, his anti-hero self sort of enters the modern world, determined to dispense justice on his terms, with the Justice Society of America standing in his way. And as both an executive producer and leading man, The Rock has been very hands-on in Black Adam's marketing, heavily pushing the slogan, the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. That's the slogan. I'm going to repeat that. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. That's not just character-wise. That's like behind-the-scenes-wise. That's DC, the whole shit. And numerous clips have released for Black Adam, along with, you know, its trailers, are, I think, a testimony to that, with the level of power that the character Black Adam exudes. But they also show a key similarity with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. And not only is the main character extremely powerful, but a fight between him and other metahumans unleashes a massive amount of destruction, you know, something that Man of Steel was criticized for. That was one of the criticisms. And Johnson's biggest goal with the seemingly immortal Black Adam has forever been a build up to this showdown with Henry Cavill Superman, specifically, not just Superman, but specifically that Superman from that. And, you know, the marketing for Black Adam shows that, you know, they would be a great, that you know, the way that the Black Adam film is being filmed and the way it looks would be perfect with, you know, the way the Man of Steel went and the way that, you know, the power levels and all of that shit. And the fight scenes in Black Adam have been teased also to look very close to Superman's brawls with you know, like him and Zod and shit like that. So like Superman, General Zod and Feora, Black Adam and other characters like Hawkman sort of zoom to their opponents, you know, at super speed and you know, with earth-shattering, sort of punches and stuff like that. And like in Man of Steel, the fight scene clips from Black Adam also show the toll that the environment is dealing with, like the buildings getting fucked up and destroyed, and big craters left in the city, and people running for their lives and shit. And Man of Steel, like I said, took a lot of criticism for this, with some finding such destruction excessive for a Superman movie. Which it's realistic. I mean, if you got
exactly, if you had two superpower beings fighting in the middle of New York, New York gonna be devastated. It's gonna be tore up. It's gonna look like 9/11.
I mean, but despite Black Adam's boast of changing the DCEU, there are some aspects that I think they want to keep the same. But it also evidently shares Man of Steel's perspective on doing this sort of destruction, but having a narrative purpose in it and it making sense. And but I think Man of Steel is very frank about the level of damage that Kryptonians would inflict on Earth with their levels of super strength and invulnerability. Not just their super strength, but if you hit me and I get knocked into a building, I'm invulnerable, so I'm going to destroy the bricks behind me. You know what I'm saying? And it just, you didn't see that with Christopher Reeve's Superman or any Supermans really in the past. That was one of the things that I loved about Man of Steel. So like I said, man,
because they fought a Superman too. They like it was like, I mean, the only building that got some damage was just the Daily Planet.
Yeah,
other than that, those are some wide streets, and
right?
There's some big links between buildings because they didn't hit one. They fell in the street. Superman hit Zod with a sewer lid. I don't know. They didn't hit any buildings. Like they hit a Coke sign. That was it.
Yeah, which was an advertisement.
Right.
That was just an ad. But as with Man of Steel, Black Adam seems to be upfront that superheroes like the Justice Society of America and even anti-heroes like Black Adam deal with human lives being at risk by the level of power they got to deploy in order to fight off bigger threats. And while Black Adam himself resorts to tactics that Superman never would, Black Adam as a movie recognizes that, the war zone, that any area where metahumans are doing battle would inevitably become. And that puts Black Adam on a very similar plane as Man of Steel, while getting audiences, sort of ready for the showdown that I think that, when the two, because obviously Superman is not in this Black Adam movie, but we think that he's going to be in the post-credit scene and set up for the next movie. That's what we figure that we'll see him in this movie.
I mean, Reno, it would be a good thing because Hollywood's biggest excuse for Superman movies is we don't have anybody for him powerful enough to fight. Well, now you do.
Right.
Put him against Black Adam. I mean, but Superman has a rogues gallery that he could. I mean, you got Brainiac. They never put it. We've never seen Brainiac. We've got what's the girl's name? High Voltage or whatever her name is. We got her. We got Parasite. Yeah, Livewire. We got Parasite.
Livewire.
Livewire. You could even do
Livewire.
I mean, you could even do Metallo. Metallo would be dope to do. That would be the dopest. Metallo would be super dope, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of rogues that Superman got, but I think step one is let's get Cavill back in DC. Let's get him. Yeah. A lot of people and a lot of fans. Listen, guys, I want to clear this up and let me check the comments real quick. Make sure everybody is understanding, because I know a lot of people are upset that.
Well, don't forget Bizarro. Bizarro's another one we could have done.
But a lot of people are upset that they think that because we know that Henry Cavill is going to be wearing the red and blue suit in the Black Adam stuff, that it means that it proves that this is not from the Zack Snyder continuity. But just because he wore the black suit in the Zack Snyder movie, like Stu said last show, he wore that suit for a specific reason for that movie. It wasn't like this is his new costume from now on. So just because he's in the red and blue does not mean that it's not Zack Snyder's continuity. Just to be said. But The Rock claims that the old Warner Brothers leadership did not want Henry Cavill to return. Because in an interview that was shared on Twitter, he said that the process that got Superman back in the game for this movie, and it seems like the previous regime at Warner Brothers had other plans. But The Rock goes through his record of events and hammers on the fact that he's been trying to get Cavill back into the DC universe for 6 years now. And he's been working on Black Adam for 13 years. So that's how behind this shit he is. But it's been reported that the company had a lot of other plans for Superman projects, and the character did appear in Shazam and Peacemaker, to name a few, just examples. But whether it was going to be a recast situation or just extended negotiations with Cavill, we were left to wonder what the fuck's going on. But now it seems like he's 100% back for the time being. But The Rock said, I feel that this serves not only Black Adam, but the entire DC universe. More importantly than that, it takes care of the fans. And that's what you want your lead foot to be. So let me repeat that for the fucking executives. Okay. More importantly than that, it takes care of the fans. And that's what you want your lead foot to be. So yes, phone calls, meetings, but man, this was years, man. 6 years to get that done. I'm going to say that again. 6 years we kept talking about this, and they keep saying no. Now that leadership isn't there anymore, so we were able to usher in this new era of the DC universe. Yeah, so and then AJ said, for those who doubt Rock's influence in getting Superman back, he explains he started working on this 6 years ago. For 6 years, the old leadership at Warner Brothers kept saying no to it. Shazam was always guaranteed, but let's be real, but no Superman. Old regime had no care for him. But yeah, he keeps saying that he's been pushing hard for this, and that the whole reason that he's doing this shit is because he wants, to do the Superman movie. So we'll definitely be heading towards a Black Adam versus Cavill Superman at some point. I think we're going to see Superman in the post-credit scene of this Black Adam movie. And Johnson said on the carpet that he said it's a little easier for studios, and I get it, and I understand the economics of it. Well, this thing makes money. Batman, Superman, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman 2. I feel really confident in the new leadership that's here now at Warner Brothers and actively looking now for. We're going to land on some leadership on the DC side too. So this idea that I've been saying for about a year now about, hey, this is the new era in the DC universe. It's a new era there. It's a new era in Black Adam. And you saw the end of Black Adam. That's the new era too as well that we're bringing in. So I feel good. Yeah, man. I feel good too about that. I feel good about it.
So do I. But I just don't understand the big deal about the black suit. Like, why do you... I don't know. I guess, well...
They live in delusion, and you don't need to give them energy. That's basically what that is. They live in delusion, and, with the Snyder thing, and they're holding on to that really tight. I get it, but it was taken to a whole nother level.
Because in the comics, when he wore it, it was what he did. It was like a regeneration suit. Like he was weak, and it helped him absorb sunlight until his body could do it. But it did it at an accelerated rate. It didn't make him any stronger. It wasn't like a combat suit or a battle suit or anything, or a new suit. Yeah, it was a rejuvenation suit.
That's why I say those people live in delusion, because they don't even understand just the basics of why he wore that particular suit. You're correlating it to a film rather than to the character. So, no.
Yeah, like how much did you really love that film, or how much do you give a fuck about it that you didn't even realize that what that suit even was in the movie that they explained in the fucking movie? So what movie were you watching? What are you worried about?
I mean, I hope we get Cavill. I mean, but I think I don't know. I put my hopes out there with him before, and we got squat. So, if we get the cameo, that's great. But now what? I want to see an actual are we getting a Man of Steel 2? I really don't want to see a Black Adam versus Superman film before a Man of Steel 2. We're kind of owed that sequel at this point. So
I agree with that.
I would really like to see the sequel first before any Black Adam versus Superman movie. And then I'll be happy. I'll be a happy camper.
No, I agree with that, Sada. I do. I do. You're right. They do owe us a Superman film. Big time.
Yeah, they are. And it I guess they're already talking about it. In fact, they know, like they said, it's not going to be called Man of Steel 2. It's not going to be called Superman, the Man of Steel 2. It's literally just going to be called Superman.
Oh, is that it?
That's it.
I just want to know who they're going to use from his rogues gallery. I don't know. People in Hollywood, they're very surface level thinking. So it's very weird that they say there's no one strong enough for Superman to fight when it's not really all about brute strength. It's never been about Superman. So yeah, Brainiac, Metallo, there's so many options, but surface level thinking. So,
They will mess around and give us Lex Luthor.
Right. They always touch on Lex Luthor, the opposite of brute strength. But your complaint is that there's no one strong enough.
You know what it is? Because they want to ride on that brains versus brawn thing. Yeah. But if you're gonna do Lex Luthor,
that's Brainiac too.
Exactly.
Yeah, Brainiac has a body. He can be as strong or as weak as he wants. He's 10 times smarter than Superman, and he's 10 times
Lex
smarter.
Luthor got the suit too, though. He got the power suit too.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Why they just didn't do Lex Luthor in the super suit?
The power suit, right? Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, but the Christopher Reeves Superman theme song, I guess, is supposed to be back, and in this, I don't know. That was the post credit or the trailer or whatever, but the trailer got leaked. Apparently, the post credit scene, rather, not trailer. Sorry, the post credit scene to Black Adam seemingly has been leaked, but The Rock doesn't seem to mind. There's probably no way to talk about this without sticking a big giant spoiler warning right up front. With a week to go before Black Adam arrives in theaters, a post credit scene from the film is already making its leaky pre-release rounds across the internet. I don't plan to show it because fuck that. I don't want to ruin the post credit scene of a movie. That's stupid. I like to see post credit scenes after the movie, not before. And it seems to reveal seismically huge comeback for a long absent DC movie hero, which fuck it, it's Superman. The fancy way of saying that you probably shouldn't read any further if you don't want to sniff at the surprises that DC The Rock appear to be cooking up. But it's Superman. But yeah, I guess if you want to see it, you can probably find it. It's out there. I'm not gonna look for it. I don't want to see it personally, but he's not worried about it. Rock, he doesn't care. I guess it's almost here. The movie's almost here, so he's not really worried about it apparently, but I don't care. I don't want to see it. Yeah. But yeah, he said I can tell you that the whole goal and initiative of Black Adam was to build out the DC universe by introducing not only Black Adam but the entire JSA, 5 new superhero characters in one movie. And I think this is kind of what everybody's been asking for, right? We don't want the big 3. We're tired of Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and all of that. Here's a whole nother team of DC characters that, Hawkman and all that shit. So Dr. Fate. I think this is what people been asking for. The Rock's listening, right? He's giving us that.
Sort of, kinda. I did want a new team, definitely. Well, not a new team, but the Justice League, so Justice Society, whatever. So I'm excited to see them. But I feel like we still need the big three, just because not only are they so integral, but they weren't really done right. So we need that, I feel like. And then, yeah. But I'm excited to see this team. I'm very excited.
Yeah. He said we have established Black Adam as the most powerful and unstoppable force on our planet. But the fans have been so passionate about, as have we been, where is the most unstoppable force in the universe? Where is he? And he said, we've all been fighting for this moment, and I will say this: welcome home. Obviously, he's talking about Superman being the most powerful force in the universe. I guess they never heard of Goku, but
or Darkseid,
different universe. But yeah, that's nowhere close to confirming that Cavill might star in the Man of Steel 2 movie. But he's definitely going to be in the Black Adam, like a Black Adam face-off thing. But Sad, I don't think you have to worry. I think Man of Steel 2 is definitely coming.
I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it.
I just don't know if you'll get it before we. Well, here's what I think. Here's my sort of little stupid prophecy on that. I think that we'll get Cavill, Superman in the next Black Adam movie. They'll fight, but it won't be like a Black Adam Superman movie. If you know what I mean, like it's not gonna be Black Adam versus Superman. That's not gonna be the title of it. But Superman might come in, they might fight, and then we get Man of Steel 2 off that.
Unfortunately, I could see that happening.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that happening. Because that's what The Rock wants to do. For some reason, we just skip right over Shazam, but okay, I can get over that. And we're gonna go to Superman, which all right, I can see that.
I'm not mad at that, honestly. I'm not like a big Shazam fan anyway.
I want to see him go against Shazam before Superman. I don't know.
I do. I agree with that. Yeah,
for sure.
I really really want to see that.
yeah, that has to happen.
I agree with that. And they have to make Shazam more mature. Yeah, they have to mature.
Do they ever?
Yeah, maybe maybe in this Fury of Gods, if that ever comes out, maybe that'll happen then. Maybe.
Yeah, because Billy Baston might be a kid, but he doesn't think like a kid.
Right, he doesn't act like a 7-year-old. I mean, he acts like he's 13 or something.
Yeah, and exactly. And when he's Shazam, he doesn't even let on the fact that he's a kid because he has the wisdom of Solomon, things like that. So he can actually.
In the movie, they got him running around like a big kid.
Big kid, right? And
I don't like it. That's why I was like, I'm cool.
Right. So those attributes make him smarter, stronger, wiser. Once he turns into Shazam, they make it seem like he just has powers. He's a kid that turns into a giant adult that can lift buildings. That's not true.
It's not. Yeah, he's not just like a 10-year-old in a man's body. It is not. It's not exactly that.
It's more complicated than that.
Yeah, he gets more sort of wisdom, I guess.
Because I know he has the wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah.
Which being that, once he turns into Shazam, he's smarter. And that would in turn make him more mature.
Right.
It's when he turns into Shazam. But Hollywood just isn't that smart.
They're not
that smart. Right.
Surface level, they'll take the biggest thing. Oh, he's a kid that turns into an adult. All right, let's look at Tom Hanks's Big, that movie.
Right.
Make it Shazam. Let's do that.
Yeah. A superhero Big. That's right.
I'm like, all right, but can we not?
Yeah.
Can we move on from that in the sequel? It was fine in the first movie, but I think we need to kind of move along with the second film.
Yeah, and wishful thinking. I think, man. I don't see it. I don't, because the way the actor sort of plays Shazam, I don't see him changing too much.
Yeah, he's a comedic guy, definitely. So
right. Yeah, exactly. He's not gonna ever get serious enough because Shazam in the animated shows, like in the cartoon movies and stuff, is not goofy at all. He's more serious. Like he's really serious. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, let's see, because Justice League Unlimited, yeah, he tried to really not let on that he was a kid. Young
what?
Justice, it was like a little more, they were a little more free with it, but when he was in the Justice League, he like it was his mission for them to not find out he was a kid.
Right.
But after a while, I mean, he just went with the Young Justice team, so. I'm trying to think what else has he appeared in. Superman, Batman, Superman, Public Enemies. He was very serious in that one. Even as a kid, he was kind of badass in that one. Yeah,
There's a new one? It's like Shazam Superman or something, or Shazam Black Adam. I don't know.
yeah. So that one, yeah, he's definitely more mature, and that's
the cartoon.
Yeah, the short, right?
Yeah.
The Superman, Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, not Superman, Black Adam, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because of like his hardships and stuff.
Yeah,
he's more
like
mature.
Shazam has like he's got the wisdom of Solomon, so that gives him an idiotic, it gives him almost an idiotic memory, like a photographic memory. He has clairvoyance. I mean, he has infinite stamina. Superman doesn't have infinite stamina. He has infinite strength. Superman doesn't have infinite strength because he has the strength of Hercules and the stamina of Atlas. Atlas held the world up forever on his shoulders.
Right.
You know what I mean? Infinite endurance, the power of Zeus. Zeus is the strongest god. Electricity generation and manipulation. He can heal himself on the fly. You know what I mean? He has magical abilities.
It's
the
like
courage of Achilles.
Superman just stronger because Superman.
Because he's Superman, right?
But he's not the way they break it down.
Yeah, that's why I think Black Adam would get him.
Right. Yeah, he's got the courage of Achilles.
He's got the
Everybody
magic.
knows who Achilles. Everybody know who Achilles is. Everybody know how Achilles get down.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean, mental resilience. You know what I mean, and the speed of Mercury, because that's the M. The M is speed of Mercury. He's got superhuman speed. He can fly at superhuman. He can fly fast. He can run as fast as Flash or even faster. And that's another thing that gets me too. Why is Superman just as fast as Flash? He can't be.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. I have the Flash.
Right.
Every time they have them race, for some reason they're neck and neck, and I don't understand that. They shouldn't get it neck and neck.
Yeah, like what's the point of the Flash then? If Superman can do it too, like I don't get it. Right. I always thought the Flash was supposed to be a next level.
The only person that should be able to keep up with him is Shazam. That's it, or at least come close. But he's part of he's part of the Speed Force. Like he has the Speed Force in him, so you can't.
Oh, that
and the Speed Force is supposed to be. Nah, Shazam doesn't. It's all magical in him. So like the speed of Mercury, we know how fast Mercury is. So he has infinite speed, which means he doesn't get tired. He can run forever. Right. You know what I mean? And he has superhuman reflexes, which means he can move as fast as he wants, even when he flies. So for him to go against Superman, he should be able to. But I do have
Superman, Shazam, The Return of Black Adam. That's the one.
That one. Yes.
It's an hour. Yeah, it's like an hour long.
So he's definitely more
that dope.
In that one.
Yeah, that one is dope.
And as Shazam. I mean, he's still a kid, he doesn't really know what's happening. He can't really think on the fly, but he's not as cartoonish as he is in the live action film. And I think part of that has to do with, his hardships and how he grew up and just having that shell. But they have that in the live action movie too, but he's still a little more cartoonish for whatever reason. But it was fun in the first film, but I need that to go away in the second film, please.
Yeah, that's the only thing that turned me off just a little bit. It's just and I don't mean to be, but
that's understandable.
Yeah, but we love Shazam here, and then and then Black Adam's powers are the same, but they just use instead of using the Greek gods, they use the Egyptian gods. So that's the difference. So he still has pretty much the same powers as Captain Marvel, and we don't understand if Black Adam took on the whole Justice League by himself. Just imagine what Captain Marvel could do.
Right.
Yeah. Especially if he let that power consume him. Oof. Yeah. Gone. Oof. What a dangerous guy.
Mm-hmm. Um, DC's cancels heterosexual Robin comic after 17 issues as sales fall flat. Naturally,
why did they have to add the heterosexual?
yeah.
Like, are you trying to elicit a response? Like, I don't understand. Why even add that in there?
It seems like they're talking like they were trying to say like, see, the gay ones do sell better or something. I don't know what, because the gay characters. I mean, but who knows? Naturally, the only conclusion that sales were so low is down to the heterosexuality being blatantly forced down people's throats by the way of a straight love interest for Damian Wayne in the character of Flatline.
Maybe it was just poorly written. See, like, why are we making it about his sexuality? It's the same way if an LGBTQ couple falls flat on its ass. It has nothing to do with them being LGBTQ. They're just poorly written. Period.
Well, I think that's what's funny here, because they're saying they're making it like here. This would be normally, you would say, you know, the homosexuality being blatantly forced down people's throats by the blah blah blah, but they just completely turned it and made it like the straight. And this comes after a number of forced propaganda, straight love interest characters, forced propaganda of straight love. Like, straight heterosexuality is not.
I guess they're just
propaganda.
trolling. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of thinking. It's kind of like they're being funny, sort of. This continues a wave of straight propaganda in recent years in comic books, including Ben Grimm marrying Alicia Masters, the Human Torch finding a soulmate in Sky before shagging Dr. Doom's wife, Victorious, in the Fantastic Four, which already contained a straight marriage in Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Spider-Man just asked out Black Cat this week, and even on the TV shows, She-Hulk just smashed Daredevil. It's like
yeah, is
everywhere we turn,
like, what's going on?
Everywhere we turn is heterosexuality. Everywhere we look.
Is it satire? It sounds like satire, but I don't know. I don't know if they're actually being serious or not.
This day and age, I don't know. Like any other era, I would have been like satire, but nowadays, I don't know. You don't know. Could
I guess it's satire. I don't think they're actually serious with that. I'm gonna hope they're actually not serious with that and say they're just satire.
I mean, look, nowadays a comic book character doesn't get a love interest unless they're homosexual.
Oh, and then they say either that or they will ignore this story completely, concentrate on the cancellation of Superman, Son of Kal-El, which consistently sold more copies. So I think that's what it is. They're mad that Kal-El's getting canceled, and
Litos, you're on to
it. Nobody's interested in a gay Superman. It's just not. You got to have. Listen, there's nothing wrong with it. If that's the way you go, but people don't want to read about it. People just don't want to read about it all the time. And when you read the comic, that's pretty much what they focused on.
It was they just focused on his sexuality. That was it.
A lot, yeah. Like they wrapped the story in there, but it mostly was the fact that he was gay. And they let you know that he was. There was even a point where he was, I think, one of the Robins. He had a thing for one of the Robins or something like it. It's just a lot. Man. It's a lot for you to.
Last week, Bleeding Cool reported that DC Comics was canceling the Superman Son of Kal-El comic book after its 8th issue, and replacing it with a new series starring the same characters, but calling it Adventures of Superman John Kent. So naturally, certain folk who make certain YouTube videos were delighted by this fact, right? Because some of these certain people hate anything that's not a straight white male, and they like to make videos about it. But because the comic book had, the bisexual character in the lead, which he was bisexual, not gay, the Son of Kal-El. But though they insisted on calling him a gay character, but Some other folk followed suit, such as the Daily Mail, who ran the headline, DC Comics cancels its gay Superman book series at New York's Comic-Con just after 18 issues as sales fall flat. And they even cite Bleeding Cool, who but choose not to link to the site, but possibly because they misattribute something that they reported to someone else, and that would give it away. But their headline was later amended when someone pointed out that John Kent, son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, has been portrayed as a young teenage bisexual man with expressed feelings for both Saturn Girl and his boyfriend Jay Nakamura, rather than gay Superman. So then they redid the headline. It says DC cancels bisexual Superman. Publisher pulls comics about Kal-El's son coming out and fighting climate deniers after 18 issues, and sales plummet to just about 34,000 last month. The sales numbers given are always an estimate, and experience has shown that they generally miss out, huge markets. So you can normally add 10 to 15% on top of those figures, but they also don't include digital sales, where Superman, Son of Kal-El regularly topped the Amazon Comixology charts on the week that it's released. So apparently the fans of that comic are mostly reading it digitally, and it doesn't include any of the DC Universe Infinite readers or trade paperback collectors, blah blah blah. So the numbers aren't going to be exact, but as long as you're doing your research on YouTube from bad actors, that this kind of information that you'll find. But the Daily Mail also chooses to delete the following editorial notes that were originally published on the article, which is Superman is just one comic book character among many to have been given a reinvented persona in recent years. We need to say that when it launched, what the premise is and how much sales were in total, compare the sales to blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. If you wanted to know, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, no, we don't need to say that. But, yeah, basically. Basically, yeah, I think it does coincide with the cancellation of that. So they put out this article about how they canceled the heterosexual Robin comic, and so I guess they were being funny. Yeah. Oh. The Zack Snyder's Justice League gets its first theatrical release. So finally, to the theater if you want to see that. I don't know if you're gonna sit in the theater 4 hours, but yeah. Kevin Smith is, I guess, the one that's making that happen. Kevin Smith, he confirmed the film's big screen debut on the last episode of his Fat Man Beyond podcast, and but it'll be 2023. And it will be part of a series of screenings and Q&A sessions called Directly Responsible Face-to-Face with Filmmakers at Smodcastle. So Smith said about the upcoming screening, Zack Snyder is coming in the new year, and he was like, I've never shown Justice League in a theater once. So I was like, brother, bring it. So that's Kevin Smith, but featuring alongside Snyder for the series our fellow directors Jason Reitman, known for like Juno and Ghostbusters Afterlife, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Joe and Anthony Russo are also going to be doing their thing, and so the screening and Q&A series is one of many initiatives that Kevin Smith hosts at his new theater in New Jersey, as he seeks to make it a popular destination for moviegoers. I personally want to check it out because Kevin Smith's got that dope comic book store, The Stash.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Stu, I know you've been there. So
nice.
Yeah, definitely want to check out his theater. But also known as the Snyder Cut, Zack Snyder's Justice League was released back in March 2021 as a direct to HBO Max feature during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. So 4 hours long, but more than 2.2 million households tuned in the first week. So that's huge. And the release of the film came after Snyder's fans, clamored for his vision of the Justice League to be realized after he left movie production in 2017 following his daughter's death, leading to Avengers director Joss Whedon stepping in to finish the film and totally destroying it, totally ruining it. Whedon, I don't know what the hell you were thinking, bro, but that sucked. But yeah, Snyder initially planned a 5-movie arc of collective superhero universe dubbed the DC Extended Universe. The arc began with Henry Cavill's Man of Steel in 2013, followed by Batman vs. Superman in 2016, where Snyder introduced Ben Affleck as Batman and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. For the Justice League film, Snyder brought in Ezra Miller to play the Flash, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, and Ray Fisher as Cyborg. So following mixed reviews of the 2017 Justice League movie, a fan movement backing the Snyder Cut began and culminated in its HBO Max release last year. The Warner Brothers merger with Discovery in April 2022 sparked speculation that Snyder would be brought back to complete his movie arc. However, DC's chief creative officer and publisher Jim Lee stated that during the San Diego Comic-Con, that Snyder's Justice League was the filmmaker's vision realized, and that there are no future plans to collaborate on the material, basically saying that it's not canon for the DC universe for whatever retarded reason, because it was much more better, it was much better received than the one that they are saying is canon. So I really don't get their sort of logic behind going with the other one, or if they are for sure, or what's up, because I don't know if Jim Lee is still involved in that, but he was then. But Warner Brothers executives have also distanced themselves from that Snyder Cut, citing fan aggression, as enthusiasts of Snyder's work have consistently issued demands and threats to the studio, and it's just not the way, guys. It's not the way. Come on. You're gonna threaten the people? Come on, we're gonna break their legs.
But you get down. Passionate. Hey man, listen, George Lucas got death threats for Star Wars. When he changed Star Wars, he literally said, he said people were like mailing him letters, talking about killing him, all kind of stuff. Leave Star Wars alone.
Word. I normally don't like fan castings, because I just don't like to get hyped up about shit. That ain't gonna happen. But this one, really, I was just like, if this don't happen, I'm gonna be pissed. And I'm gonna show you. Hang on, let me get you guys a good picture. So, y'all know I'm a big Star Wars fan, and one of the dopest, like, best characters, villains that they've ever written in Star Wars has never been in a movie and only been in the animated show. And his name is Grand Admiral Thrawn. They've got a couple of trilogy novels about him that just like changed the fucking game in Star Wars. And so we expect to see him in the Ahsoka show or the Mandalorian show or something, because Ezra from Star Wars Rebels and Thrawn at the end of Rebels were seen just sort of floating off into space, and no one knows what happened to them. So we know that Thrawn is going to be part of it, and Ezra is going to be part of it. So, but this fan casting, I think, is like the best shit I've ever seen. I've tried to imagine who could play Thrawn, and if you know about Thrawn and you read the comics and you read the book and you understand the alien race of the Chiss and how they look and everything, Benedict Cumberbatch is like the only dude that can play Thrawn, in my opinion. Period.
Wow, bro.
Straight up.
I don't know. I can't see that, man. But
Straight up, bro. It's the only one.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Because the kind of character that Thrawn is, he's got that he's a very like intellectual, you know, and Benedict Cumberbatch just always nails that shit. But I think Thrawn is perhaps the most popular Star Wars character that has not appeared in any live action movies or TV series, with the long running, but that could be about to change, because there's been recurring rumors that we're gonna see him in something, like I said, Mandalorian or Ahsoka, and rumors like this inevitably bring with them the debate over what actor should play the role and this big character, and so people are always doing their fan casts. But with Thrawn, there's only ever been a select group of actors that fans could see as the character. One is Lars Mikkelsen, the actor who voices him in Star Wars Rebels, and the other one is Benedict Cumberbatch. Because the character, again, he can't be like a square jawed, Cavill kind of guy. He's not that, but he can't look like a weasel either. He's got to look formidable too at the same time, but he's got to look intellectual, but also intimidating, right? It's a lot of components that the character, has to meet. So there's very few actors that can play this character. And Cumberbatch has found himself on a lot of fan castings for this character, with most fans believing that he would do a really great job as the character. But though it isn't likely to happen, but that hasn't stopped the fandom from imagining, what he could look like in the role. And I just saw that and I was like, man, that's like, that's it. That's Thrawn. Because I've been trying to figure out who could play Thrawn that's not going to just look like some dude with blue paint on his face that doesn't look like Thrawn. You know what I mean?
Right.
And compared to the way he looks in the comics, I mean, here goes look at this. Like this is how he looks in the comics. See if I can get. You see, he's got the cheekbones, but he's got the pointy jaw, the pointy chin, the slick back hair, the sort of thin, kind of guy, and that shit is perfect. He does look like him. See,
he does. Yeah, he do. Yeah. I mean, looking at it, yeah, but
Benedict.
After the rumors of his appearance, bubbling up in Mandalorian, a future live action, I think, series like Ahsoka, first began like doing the rounds on the internet, Instagram, shit like that, with little artwork and shit like that. But Cumberbatch has always been the one that people have been doing, but I just never saw a picture that looked that good, like where they set him up. That was like the best one that I've seen. But with the characters like signature blue skin, he's got the red eyes, and the Marvel, the character rather, the actor rather from Marvel, I think looks perfect as Thrawn. And if we could take anything away from this dope, this artwork, it's that fans were right to place him so high up on their Thrawn fan castings because he looks perfect. As exciting though as the idea of Cumberbatch playing Thrawn may be, he's way too big of an actor to do like a Disney Plus show. Like it's not that he's not, because it's just going to be a Disney Plus show. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a big movie or anything like that, and it never will be. So he'll just be a TV show character, and Cumberbatch is not going to do a TV show. He's just not. Very, very, very unlikely. But Lars Mikkelsen, who plays the voice of him, would be perfect audibly, but I don't even know what the dude looks like. Okay, I'm looking at him now. Well, yeah, they could do him up. They could do him up to look like Thrawn. Definitely have to shave his beard, but yeah, they could definitely do him up. He's got definitely got the cheekbones and the. Yeah, he could do it. He could do it. I'm trying to get y'all a picture here. Well, nah, fuck that. I mean, I got a better idea. What? Tell me what y'all think. Let me get. Pink, pink, pink. There we go. Pink. Yeah, he could do it. What do you think, Norin? Blue paint, red eyes.
Yeah.
Where is he at? There he is.
You could pass.
Yeah.
He could pass. He could do it.
They could enhance the cheekbones with makeup and other stuff.
Right.
And it could work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can make it work.
And he's got and obviously he's the voice that we all know. But his brother, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, that's the guy who always plays a villain.
Yes. And this is why I want. This is who I wanted to play Doom. This is my casting for Doom. My personal casting. Victor Vaughn. That's Victor Vaughn for me. But we'll see. But this is his brother. I guess this is his brother. Mads Mikkelsen, Lars Mikkelsen. I didn't know they were brothers, but oh yeah, look at that. They got the same sort of.
That makes two of us.
Yeah. They got the same lips, same nose. Are they brothers, really? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I can't see him as Doom, but he has a very unique face. Him and his brother, they both have very unique faces.
Yeah, the only reason that I see him as Doom is because his face is so unique, and I could see it just being like this villain, like because he's just got that villain sort of look to him. But I also know like his mannerisms and shit, like the way that he is in like movies that I've seen him in. I think he'd do really good, but Doom is hard to cast, for me because such a big, character. And in fact, I do have a video that I'm working on too. That's sort of expose on just how powerful Doom is, because I don't think people really know, like a lot of the feats that he's done throughout the comics. So I've sort of compiled everything, and I'm working on that. So that should be out hopefully by the end of the weekend. I'll have that up. Because Doom is my dude, man. If there's two characters that I am anticipating the most, it's Wolverine and Dr. Doom. No other characters I'd rather see. Oh, my buddy, I got a buddy that is gonna try to join us here. He's sort of like a Tolkien, I don't want to say expert, but he's a Tolkien fan, Tolkien reader.
Oh.
All right, so okay. Tell you that I don't care what any motherfucker says. All right, so yeah, hopefully he'll be in. So we can talk about that. But Stu, they got Star Trek 4 would have been a cosmic Kirk family adventure. Apparently. Ever since Star Trek Beyond came out in 2016, Paramount's had some trouble, getting like that fourth entry to reboot the film series off the ground. Before and after the film was announced, though, to everyone's surprise, creative teams for Star Trek 4 have been attached and dropped from the film numerous times. And the most recent of these departures was the director Mac Shakeman back in August, after he got pulled in to direct Fantastic Four from Marvel.
Well, Star Trek has had a interesting movie experience. Mostly because they keep going back to Captain. They keep going back to Kirk. Everybody's mad. Every time we get a movie, Kirk got to be in it. Kirk's got to have something to do with it. Even in that, like when they did the Next Generation films, the first one they did had Kirk in it, and people were like, "Look, just kill Kirk already, like, or do something." I mean, people were tired of William Shatner. Listen, it's just.
Do you like Chris Pine's Kirk? I thought it was cool.
Chris Pine's Kirk, I like. His Kirk, I like. And I think it's just people were tired of William Shatner. I think a lot of Trek fans were just sick of William Shatner.
Oh, really? I thought y'all seen him as like the god.
He is, but he's got to be in every movie. And then like certain actors, like for a while, believe it or not, he was getting on the other actors' nerves.
Ooh, like, I believe it. I believe it.
Like Uhura, Scotty, and them, like he was getting, and so then they said, he was like this prima donna.
Yep, I believe it.
Set. He wanted this, he wanted that, he was this, he was that. He wanted to be on screen most of the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of them didn't want to do it. I think for like Star Trek, the last Undiscovered Country, Leonard Nimoy was not going to do it. He was not going to come back. They got to do. Yeah, they guess Kirk issued an apology to everybody and said he would tone it down, and he did. Leonard Nimoy came back and did I think it was the last 2 movies they did, because he literally wasn't coming back to play Spock, and he just said he just couldn't do it with. So then when he kind of had his revenge, because when they did the new movies,
I like it.
They had him, right? Yeah. He came back in the new ones, but they didn't call back William Shatner, and William Shatner was mad about that. William Shatner was.
They even showed his spots too. He could have. He was like, I could have played the dad.
That is so funny.
And they didn't. They didn't bring him back in no capacity. They didn't bring William Shatner back, and he was upset about the whole thing.
Used to be, if you were a fucking problem on set and shit like that, they would ruin your career. Like shit that Ezra Miller pulls, they would have pulled that shit back in the day. Been a wrap, bro.
Son. Done, son. Yeah.
You would never heard from you again.
Right. It really, the way the mob was running Hollywood back then, you really would have never heard from him again, probably.
Oh no.
But they still. I just read an article said that they're doing reshoots and everything for Ezra Miller, and they're moving forward with this Flash movie in every aspect.
I still believe we will never see Flashpoint, and if we do, I will eat crow. But I don't believe we're going to see it in theaters.
You better go to the store. You better go to the store and get you a.
If it releases in theaters, I will eat crow live on the Sixth Element of Hip Hop. I will eat
coming. What if it comes out? What if it goes straight to streaming?
Shit, I'm still eat crow because it's out. So
you gonna be eating crow? You better.
It actually releases. We get a full film. Then
I think so.
I mean, do you like your crow with mayonnaise, truffle mayonnaise?
How do you like truffle crow?
I like it with a little Tabasco. I need some heat.
Do you like it deep fried, fricasseed, barbecue? Smoked crow? I heard is pretty tasty. But I'm gonna tell you now, they're moving forward. I have no idea why. I can't figure it out.
They just get to scrap the film.
The reason why is because the money they got to recoup.
Yeah,
hundreds of
they
millions.
Put a lot of money in that film. A lot.
Yeah. Oh, Reno, that Batgirl, the trailer we saw. That's I think that's a real trailer. I just seen it. Seen one the other day.
Some of the scenes from it were from
I seen one. The one that I saw, it had a lot of the stuff that could be.
Some of the scenes were real.
Cut out. Yeah.
It did have real footage of Batgirl for sure. Yeah.
I saw a shorter one than the one we saw, and it had Batgirl riding a motorcycle.
Where they probably cut out all the extra shit.
That was probably the
all the extra stuff is gone.
That shorter one.
Yeah. It was way shorter.
Yeah, because YouTube channels, some of them are really good for putting these trailers together for like films that aren't even released yet, and there's nothing out for them, and they like take stuff from other things and splice it together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the real deal footage. That shorter one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what. But yeah, regarding how the wait, what am I reading? Never mind. Never mind the Kirk shit. Yeah, no, but actually I'm just waiting for my homeboy to pop on here because we still I promise guys I'm gonna talk about Rings of Power because damn, that finale was hella cool. We got to find out who the stranger was. We got to find out who Sauron was. They really delivered as far as that stuff.
I told you, but I said it's gonna be the very last episode.
Oh yeah, wait, I
like,
stamped that. Your stamp was approved.
Thank you.
Yes,
approved.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So because I said the last 2 episodes will probably be the best episodes of the whole series because there's a guy I work with. He said he loves Lord of the Rings. He said I don't care if they walk around and just talk about nothing all day. It's just long as it's Lord of the Rings. He was like, I love it. He was like, they can sing songs all day and just walk through the forest and look at the trees. He was like, he said, I'll sit there and watch a whole hour of that. He was like, but as long as it's Lord of the Rings.
People love that shit.
Yeah. That's how much he loved it. Yeah. He said he loved looking at the costumes and and just the makeup and all that. He was like, as long as it's Lord of the Rings on the screen, he said, I'll just sit there and stare at it all day.
Well, that's how I feel about Game of Thrones. And House of the Dragon, has already proven itself to be a very worthy successor to Game of Thrones. And this last episode was crazy. A lot of bloody deaths and messy characters and all that stuff that we love. But unlike Game of Thrones, though, the first season of House of the Dragon had a lot of time jumps in order to set up what is likely to become the primary conflict for the series, which is the Dance of Dragons. So the Dance of Dragons, as written in George R. R. Martin's novel Fire and Blood, on which the House of Dragons is based, is a bloody civil war amongst the Targaryen family. And the civil war is triggered by conflicts surrounding, who should succeed King Viserys as the king of Westeros. And his firstborn daughter, Rhaenyra Targaryen, is who he chose to be his successor. Right, and the first queen of Westeros would be for his firstborn son Aegon. But after Viserys' death at the end of episode 8, we have essentially reached this point in the series, which is the big culmination of everything. And if you're like me, you may be thinking, if House of the Dragon has already reached the beginnings of Dance of the Dragons, how much story is there left for the series to tell? Well, according to a blog post by George R. R. Martin himself, he believes that it's going to take 4 full seasons of 10 episodes each to do justice to the Dance of Dragons from start to finish. So that's about, I know a lot of people were like, well, how long is this going to go? Is this going to be a 1-season thing, 2-season thing? So we're looking at least 4 seasons to get through the Dance of Dragons, and where they go from there, we don't know. But he also addresses the time jumps while musing on sort of how seasons of televisions have decreased over the years. But what he said was, let me see. He said, but there are so many minutes in an episode, more on HBO than on the network shows I once wrote for, because he used to be a writer for regular network TV. And only so many episodes in a season. Fewer and fewer as time goes by, it seems. When I was a boy, shows had 39 episodes a season. By the time I was writing for Beauty and the Beast, it was down to 22. Cable shrunk that even further. The Sopranos had 13 episodes per season, but just a few years later, Game of Thrones had only 10. And not even that in the last 2 seasons. If House of the Dragon had 13 episodes per season, maybe we could still have shown all the things we had to time jump over, though that would have risked having some viewers complained that the show was too slow or that nothing happened. As it is, I'm thrilled that we still have 10 hours every season to tell our tale. Rings of Power has only 8, as you may have noticed, and my AMC show Dark Winds is doing 6-episode seasons. So I hope that will continue to be true. End quote. It's hard not to agree that sometimes TV series, suffer when they aren't given enough time or too much time, and there's a lot of filler and shit, But yeah, I mean, even though
it's a balancing game, you gotta learn how to balance.
Right,
that's really what it is.
Yeah. Even though 4 10-episode seasons is half of Game of Thrones' 8-season run, if George R. R. Martin believes that that is enough to finish the story and tell it well, then that seems like a good plan for the series to stick to, because obviously Game of Thrones went past where George R. R. Martin's books went, and so they had to make shit up, and then that's why the ending got botched. But this looks to be kind of like that hindsight 2020 thing. Now they're going to be able to sort of fix shit. House of the Dragon showrunner revealed why the series made the Valerians black, because in the book they're not. And Whoopi Goldberg slams racist fantasy fans on The View. She went after racists for being upset at the casting of black actors on on Rings of Power and Game of Thrones, or House of the Dragon and shit. But the co-creator for the show told in an interview that the decision to add more diversity to the sci-fi and fantasy genre wasn't intended to appeal to left-wing ideals. I think he said, which surprised me. He said, I think it's not that simple. Ryan Condal said. He said, I think the reason that it's been a successful choice is because it was thought out. It wasn't just done perfunctorily, or wasn't just done to tick a box or to be seen as progressive. Condal, who is a showrunner for the HBO series, then followed up the statement with one that seemed to somewhat contradict his previous remarks. He said it's 2022. He said it's a different era than these shows used to be made in. We have an incredibly diverse audience that's not only across America, but in multiple countries, that speak all sorts of different languages, that represent all the colors under the sun. And it was really important to see some of that reflected on screen. This is a fantasy world. I think if it was a historical fiction piece, it would be more nuanced, a more nuanced discussion. But I think simply because this is a fantasy world, if we believe in dragons and shapeshifters and dire wolves, then we can believe that everybody in the story is not white. The character Corlys Velaryon, also known as the Sea Snake, he was the black dude with the long white dreads that you saw in the trailers and stuff if you're not watching the show. And he's portrayed by Steve Toussaint, a British actor of Barbadian descent, Barbados. But to this, House Valerian, a prominent family in the series whose members are pivotal players in the story, is characterized by darker skin and silvery white or sometimes dreadlocked hair. Not every character with the last name Valerian fits that description, though. And this departs from the show's source material, because in George R. R. Martin's book Fire and Blood, the Valerians are described as having white skin, ghostly pale hair, and purple eyes. But also in the books, there are a lot of characters and races. I mean, there's guys with purple beards and blue hair and green eyebrows. Like it almost looks like an anime if you were to see the way the books are written. But then the way they portray it in the movies or shows, people are either blonde or brunette. Like there's no blue hair and all this shit. But in the books, people are all kinds of colors. But this has put like Steve Toussaint on the receiving end of a lot of racist criticism online, as I'm sure a lot of these black and brown actors who are playing these characters have been receiving. And Ryan Condal said that the decision to make House Valerian black was inspired by the family's unique place in the franchise and something that Martin had said years ago. There's actually a reason, and he said why we went to the Valerians in particular was because that felt like the most fantastical race in the show, and it felt like these were people from a lost continent that we really don't know a lot about, which they are. And we know that they all have silver hair. We know that they have affinity for dragons, some of them, and we know that they are seen as quoted in the books and in the show closer to gods than to men. So what does that all look like? It always stuck with me, this article where George had talked about at first when he set out to write these books, considering making all the Valerians black people with silver hair. And that always really stuck with me as an image. End quote. So it wasn't just willy-nilly. It wasn't just for no reason at all. It wasn't just like, oh, we need more black people in the show, let's pick those guys. There was an actual reason. Like they actually were gonna be black at one point in the books. So that's why they chose those specific people to do it with. And he also noted that the time period in which House of the Dragon takes place is not far from the fall of Valeria in the franchises, in the lore. I said, well, Valeria was this enormous continent, a very diverse and well-populated nation that fell into the sea. Why couldn't there have been a line of black Valerians in that story? He remarked. And he said, I think if you're willing to take that first leap of suspension of disbelief, you really come to the idea that it feels integrated in this intrinsic, to the show in an organic way. And he's also like, you can believe in dragons, but you can't believe that there's a rich black guy. The showrunner also said that having a black family on the show helps differentiate people on screen and remembering who's who from what house. And so he added that this aids in highlighting the questionable parentage of Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen's white-looking children who have the name Valerian. So this was a very beneficial thing of having them as black, because Rhaenyra's kids, whose father is supposed to be a Valerian, who's supposed to be a black dude, and the kids are just white. They don't even look mixed at all. They're just white. And so that helps not only the audience, but it helps the characters in the show to be like, it's fucking blatantly obvious that these aren't her kids. Like, everyone knows it, kind of thing, but no one's allowed to talk about it. And so it helps us know that everyone knows it without having to say it. So, and he said, and then Ryan Condal said, I think there's a lot of visual benefits that come along with it. And he said, and because Corlys has such a rich and diverse family line himself, just simply making that one turn on him to cast Steve Toussaint, his entire family becomes then a diverse cast. So then they can cast, the wife and the daughters and the kids and the sons and everything, his brother, everything. And then he said, it's really an interesting way to populate the show with a bunch of different faces that you may not have seen in other high fantasy mediums or shows or the original series. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Same here. Oh, that's what I meant to tell you. Crime Apple put out a all Spanish album with DJ Muggs.
Oh,
pretty dope. I don't speak that much Spanish. But it's still dope.
It sounds good.
Yeah. So Crime Apple did the whole album in Spanish.
Wow. Yeah, That's
It's
ballsy.
definitely an all Spanish album.
It's ballsy.
It's ballsy.
Yeah.
It's ballsy.
Yeah.
It is. It
It
is. It
is.
really is. It really is. But Crime Apple is Latino, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess he was like, "This is one for the Latinos here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but it's ballsy as far as like, album sales are never as high in fully Spanish albums. But so yeah, so the Rings of Power. Oh, sorry, I meant the House of the Dragon. Rings of Power we're gonna get to in a second once my boy pops on here in a second. But so Aemon and Aegon had a secret conversation in House of the Dragon in the finale. And Aemon and Aegon, that's your boy with the eye patch and his older brother. So and this episode was sort of it was about love and hate and everything in between, and we cannot choose one moment really, to be the highlight of the scene, because there was one, major epic moment after another, so but one of the season's best scenes so far was Viserys's Last Supper, and that traumatized, you know everybody. But it also sort of summarized the way that both sides behave, and everything seems fine as long as King Viserys is there and present, and alive, but their true colors come out as soon as he's out of the room, and so we know what's going to happen when he dies. But observant fans have shared that there is another conversation that we're not privy to, that we see happen, we don't hear. And Aegon and Aemond have a chat before the guests, fill the room, but it's sort of left uncaptioned, and you can only hear it if you have like earphones and you listen really, really closely. But what they say is Aegon is heard telling Aemond, he says, "You don't drink enough." And then Aemond says, "You drink more than a Braavosi Sea Lord." And Aegon ends the talk of drinks saying, "I drink just the right amount." After a brief pause, probably because the guests will be arriving soon, the one-eyed prince says, even when the noose is so tight, they expect us to break bread. The children of everybody, seem more tightly strung than the adults are. Really just jumping at each other's throats as soon as they say something, especially Aemon. And since they were little, the queen, Alicent, made it clear to her children that Rhaenyra and her family were enemies of their family. And the reason behind not captioning this short little conversation, we really don't know. But did the HBO producers decide to leave this as a small Easter egg for headphone users, or is there something, a secret message that we need to know for the future? But try rewatching the scene with your headphones on, and you'll see what I'm saying. But Rings of Power, we didn't know the stranger's identity, and apparently neither did like the crew or the actors. Like, they didn't even get told who the stranger was going to be until they filmed.
Oh, nice.
The finale, yeah. Because
If you
everybody
want to keep it a secret, you better. Yeah, if you want to keep it a secret, you better.
Don't tell no one nothing.
Right. Because that was that's the big reveal. Like, so yeah, if that got leaked, it would have been trash. But the big moment, and it's really cool because the way they bust it, the way they put it on you, is like when the cult of mystics, with the white robes that you've seen walking around. So this guy all the way to the right with the Eminem looking haircut. Well, actually, that's a female. But there was three women in these white robes, and they were sort of looking for Lord Sauron. They're trying to find Lord Sauron, and they come across the stranger, or they see him, the meteor crash, and he comes out of the meteor, and so they think that's Sauron. And so they approach him and call him Sauron. And for us watching the show, we're like, oh fuck, because they reveal it. They're like Lord Sauron, and we're all like, oh, he's Sauron. Oh fuck, we thought he was Gandalf. So, but the stranger, who they think is Sauron, we quickly find out he's not down with like hurting the hobbits and shit, like, and he knows like that he's down with them, and like that proved that he wasn't the Dark Lord to them, and so they realized, and they called him the Other, and that he was an Istari, which is Middle Earth
That's what
for wizard.
Gandalf and them are. That's what Gandalf and them are. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's their word for wizard. And so the reveal, also caught the stranger's portrayer, the actor, Daniel Wyman, by surprise, because he said he didn't know who he was playing until just before filming the finale. He said, I sat there and I was like, whoa, because I didn't know either way they were going, which way they were going. He said, I knew that he was able to harness some power from the natural world, so he had to be some sort of Maiar, but how it was going to land, I didn't know. So when I read that part, I was like, no way, that's who I am? All right, here we go. It was an amazing moment. End quote. And then when the Hobbit Nori pointed out that she overheard the mystics call him Ishtari, it was the stranger who used the word wizard to identify himself. He says, I'm a wizard, basically. He said, Ishtari, it's like, I'm a wizard. And the actor said, we can see him thinking, trying to, find that word, but this other word is there. The wizard word comes out in a very difficult, slightly shady memory sort of way. And because the stranger had no recollection of who he was, the actor felt that he didn't need to know exactly who he was playing in advance, and found that the secrecy, sort of helped him portray the role better. He said, the very exciting stuff that I have had, we're starting from a blank slate. If somebody had said to me in that first scene in the crater, you'd need to be playing, for example, Sauron, then that would have colored everything that I had gone through, and we could see him figure stuff out, and I didn't have to protect something onto it or project something onto it, and that didn't get in the way of me experiencing the present. End quote. So with the mysterious, the whole shrouded mystery surrounding the stranger, basically spanning the whole first season. Fans have been, sort of filling in the blanks with their own theories about who his true identity is. Obviously Gandalf the Gray was one, Sauron the White, Radagast the Brown, and then there's other wizards. There's the blue wizards that we never hear much about, but whether any of these guesses were correct remains to be seen. But the Rings of Power is different than Lord of the Rings, so you can't really like say for a fact for sure this is what's what and that's what's what. What's good, Chef Lebowski?
Hello.
Finally. What's good, man? Finally got you on here. We're just talking about the Rings.
People's stress level by like where they touch their head. You see me, I'm like this a lot. It's very busy. That's all. But yeah. Maybe.
Oh man, so how you been though?
Good. I'm good. I actually used to play music 3 years back. I just kind of like lost my love and quit. But this was my first gig in like a year and a half, and it was fun. Some old guys. All the songs I didn't even get to go over them again, and they just came right back like in nature. So yeah, that was good. I was, like worried. I'm like, I don't remember these. And I'm like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we were just talking about the reveal, the big reveal from the finale. The stranger is not Sauron like they sort of begin to tell you, but he ends up I think he's Gandalf, right? He's Gandalf.
Yeah, so foolishly I in as much as how much I love all things Tolkien, I fell asleep before the last 30 minutes. But reveal all you can. I don't care about that.
Oh,
I watched. It's all right. I watched it. I knew through that whole thing. I'm like, this guy isn't. This is not how I think.
Yeah.
So, because first of all, so we see the Numenorians returning because they, failed in their attempt to stop Dar and the resurgence of Mordor, well, the creation of Mordor, and all that good stuff. So, what happens in Lost Tales 2, I think, is that our Pharazôn is now going to create a host of army to go back and fight him. Just forgive me, I'm kind of unwinding here, taking my shoes off and all.
No, you're good.
So he makes an army so large that when they come back to Mordor, all of Sauron's army just flees the field. Are they going to do that? See, but that's what happens, and that's and then Sauron comes out. I think the words of again, a lot of this will be not verbatim, but I think Tolkien says he comes out in fair raiment, looking beautiful. He paints him up to look like this very fair-skinned, beautiful, looking person. He comes out and that's not really what he looks like. So he seduces Pharazôn to bring him back to Numenor, and it's there that he kind of plants a seed from the inside, and Numenor falls by way they start worshiping not only Sauron but false demons and gods and all this stuff. And so then the Valar are like, all right, well, tell you what, see ya. So we'll see if that's how it goes down. So that's why at the beginning when they said that was Sauron, I'm like, I had to be that arrogant, like, nah, that's not him. That's not how this is going to get. It's too far off base. It's completely way off. And I don't think they're doing that. They're just sort of adding what is open-ended, maybe expounding on what isn't as detailed. I mean, the guy only got to write this stuff for about 30 years until he passed away. And he was kind of young when he died too. I mean, I don't think dying at 72 is actually all that old. I mean,
no.
Yeah. Anyway, so who knows what else he could have added? You know what I mean? Like, I wish he lived to be 300 or maybe a few thousand years, like the Dunedain is supposed to. Like all these people in Numenor are supposed to live for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think if episode 6 went for scale, this one definitely goes for satisfaction. They really brought us some long-awaited answers and setting a few characters on new paths. The dwarves and the Southmen weren't really in this week, but which means that the showrunners have drilled a little deeper into everyone who's left. and if this doesn't nail every single scene, it nails enough to make me wish that season 2 was available more immediately, because unfortunately that's not going to be for years. Like season 2 is not going to be like next year, apparently.
No, but, like 3 to 5. I have to reading much, but if anyone knows. So.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That makes sense. Considering the budget. Yeah.
Right. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I'll get the sort of like reasoning behind all that shit and let you guys know. But the first big story, like we were saying this week, is like a bluff, right? As the stranger is sort of bamboozled and then cornered by those strange cultists that we saw before, the Dweller and her sisters. And then they address him as Lord Sauron. And I was like, I immediately start texting people, like as soon as they called him Sauron, because I was like, no fucking way. Like, no, it doesn't make sense. Like, no. And so he seems to, roll the words around in his mind, and he's like trying to connect them to himself. And he's like, but it's a moment of like vindication, I think, for all those who picked him in Sauron as Sauron. You know what I'm saying? They were real happy for a second. But that doesn't last long, because, if the stranger were really Sauron, it would make a pretty, cruel joke of the attempted rescue by Nori and her, the Harfoot companions there, and they're about to make. But they sort of, the 4 Harfoots face the fighters of the Dweller, who is at least the shapeshifter, and she seems to possess like similar powers to the stranger here. Do you know about those the cultists? Are they from the books?
So those guys, I've been trying to between the copies that I have available, I have all of my books underneath. I have tons and tons of books, and those are unfortunately, I think, in a bin at the very bottom of my basement. So I haven't dug out any. I've been looking up what I could find. And the things that I've been reading online, I don't recall anything. Like I have a feeling that they're gonna probably just keep. I don't think they're canon. I can't think of any.
It's made for the show.
Yeah, and there's no one in the show that mentions them by, you know what I mean, that knows them outside of themselves. The three that are traveling, we have no idea. Even when you turn subtitles on, sometimes you'll get a name before that doesn't come up with anything. There's nothing, just whatever their words are. So, yeah, nothing. I don't have any insight about who they are, but I'm gonna keep digging because there's a couple of those books I want to reread anyway. Like I only read The Lost Road and Tales 1 and 2 once. All the other books more than once, and you can read them 10 times and still not remember everything.
Yeah, always new shit when you read those. Always find something new, but I haven't read anything outside of like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I haven't even finished the Silmarillion, but those books you're talking about, are those like the ones written by his son, or was that other books he wrote?
Yeah, he wrote these. These are all compilations of variations of those of things in the Silmarillion, in the Red Book of Westmarch, which is actually part of the Silmarillion. For a long time, I was confused as to what that book is. It was an actual separate book, and I was looking and I couldn't find one. It's actually, and anyone watching that might know a little bit more detail about this, but I believe it's a book that exists in Middle Earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he kind of, the guy was such a total, geek about it, that he speaks about his books as if they were real things in this world.
In the books. Yeah.
Like this, and it's supposed
like how Bilbo was writing the Fellowship or something like that.
Yeah, like you're supposed to read the trilogy as Bilbo's written word. Like that's what it's supposed to be, narrator. You know?
Right.
Red Book of Westmarch, same thing, but I'm not sure who that narrator is supposed to be. But it's supposed to be like a book of lore that you can look. So I think it's. But all those books really are just compilations of all these variations of stories, notes, things that John wrote that Christopher then found after he died, compiled into a more coherent, and I think he did a great job because if you took every section as an individual story, the first thing I would do is like, how do I put this together in some sort of cohesive unit? And it would be difficult. Great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad he has a good with Amazon. With New Line Cinema, wasn't a fan of those movies, but the reason that's good, if what I've been reading is correct, because I really know, is that the estate is giving them a lot more license with the story, which is why I think we're seeing characters like Adar. You're seeing like that sword.
Right.
Again, I don't think that's in the story, but again, this easily missed it. There's so much to remember.
So much.
Real quick though, Stu Dog, I know you got to go, man. You got to go to work, so I just want to say peace to Stu, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you Monday, bro.
Yeah, Monday I'll be here. Belsky, it's nice meeting you. I'll still be watching though. I'll still be watching you guys, but I got everyone out.
You gotta get there.
Check you later. All
right, man. Be safe, bro.
All right, you too.
All right, one.
Sada.
First.
One.
But yeah, so Tolkien's wizards, magic in Middle Earth tends to lack a lot of like outright magic that you would see in like a video game or something. Like they're more of like the wizards tend to like know things and like shift things and influence things. Like you had like how Gandalf made the sun shine really bright on people, like and block their eyes. You know what I mean? Like versus, without a lot of traditional spell casting beyond like a few fireballs that they do fireballs, but
No, I know what you mean. Like a lot in a way, I was sort of thinking about that related to Obi-Wan, because before that, if I may just draw this weird.
Oh yeah. Bounce around.
So, the Obi-Wan we knew from the movies, and I'm sorry, but like Oh my God.
You're breaking up a little bit. What'd you say?
The guy who played the original Obi-Wan. Why am I blanking on his
Oh,
name?
Alec Guinness.
Christ, yes. Jeez,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I forget him. Yeah. Yeah. What I get his name and what I'm about to say. That he's the Obi-Wan. I mean, Ewan McGregor's great, but like I like that real subtle. But what I loved about the episode now, Obi-Wan really for episodes 1 through 3. Force. I'm kind of stumbling on my words, but like,
I can't hear you. Can you hear him, Outta?
I can hear him bit by bit, so I understand what he's saying.
Hold on. Like, let me go closer to my router.
Okay, it's just like in and out. It's like audio. Yeah.
Is this better?
I think if you're closer to the mic, maybe.
How's this?
That sounds good. Let's go from there.
All right.
See what happens.
So, yeah, phone thing probably.
Yeah, sometimes it's the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a laptop. I should just rig that up next time. But I like that Obi-Wan was using more powerful Force abilities, right?
Right.
And it is satisfying to see it in those little snippets because that makes you want more, and you don't get it, so you wait for and then it comes again. It's like a payoff. You know what I mean? That you have to really wait for, and that kind of happens in the movies, but in the book, I think that you see people. Yeah, like you were saying, powers are a lot more subtle. It's not a lot of flash and bang,
right?
And, all that. Like the elves are far-sighted. It's almost like a natural ability they already have. There's nothing they have to do to be able to do it. And yeah, I mean, just the instances where like for example, in the trilogy, Gandalf fights that Balrog. He brings forth that skill when it's truly necessary.
Right.
This sort of an idea that, and maybe it's part of Tolkien's. His own personal character in his writing that he doesn't want it to be over the top. Yeah. So I don't know. If only you were, that'd be great too. Yeah.
Hell yeah. But no, I noticed that like when the trilogy came out that like his powers were more of like the sun thing, or like how he smashed the staff down and it cracked the thing, and but like versus the like blasting lightning out of his staff at people or shit like that. But,
yeah, stuff like that. That's not his, and it's all it all ties into his way of telling the story of good and bad, this and that. Like you're humble. The hobbits are sort of his. I have a feeling, I'd love to know if this is really the case, that he created the hobbits because he fought in World War I. He sees the world as you got leaders trying to the citizens are sacrificed in war. Like he came up with these stories before while at war.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so it's like I think he likes the idea of the humble, the quiet, the calm. The meek will actually be the one that can surprise you with what they can pull off. And they're the bravest. They're the So same with you got a guy with all these skills, all these powers, but he doesn't show off. Just when I need.
And that's really why Tolkien blew up in like the late 60s, early 70s, because hippies loved the hobbits because they just chill, they smoke weed.
I'm a big Zeppelin fan. Their lyrics. A friend of mine's like, "What's this one about?" I'm like, "Mordor." It's about Mordor.
Yeah, dog. I was so happy. Dude, I love Zeppelin for that, bro. Fucking love Zeppelin for that.
But you can draw every single so. I mean, when you're hearing a line, you're like, "That's from that. That's from that." It's so good. Yeah, I loved it. So.
Hell yeah.
And he said the bar. How do you write these stories? I mean, people now make entire worlds and I just don't think anyone's came close. Maybe if I haven't read it, it's out there. But
I mean, no, yeah, because like from Dungeons and Dragons, like everything that we know of fantasy, the party, the elves and dwarves, and it's all Tolkien. Everything is from Tolkien. He's the whole fantasy genre comes out of Tolkien. So he started all that.
Friggin' language that apparently is legitimately, it can be what I mean?
All the criteria of a language.
Yeah. Like, what? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember, like he's got I swear it was like 4 or 5 pages just describing a sword, like how it looked. Like he just descriptions. I mean, he just goes. It almost reads like textbooks, like history books. They almost read like.
Check this out.
It's,
I nerded up enough to buy Gandalf's.
Nice.
Look at that.
So that's Gandalf's. That's the sword made in Gondor, which unfortunately is already gone by the time the story that we're watching takes place. But
right,
I would have loved it if they went that far back. I'm talking like they show you the two trees and all that stuff. You probably have Silmarillion, right?
Yeah,
like
the first aid.
Just go back.
So is the kid?
Really
the kid that is named Isildur in this show? Is that the same guy that cuts off Sauron's fingers in Lord of the Rings in the beginning?
Your mic.
Lost your.
We lost your audio. I think your mic might be off.
It should be back on.
Yes,
there you go.
Good now.
I just turned it off. I just hit on. Yeah, when someone calls, I guess it goes out. I just hit it off and on. All right, cool. Learning as we go. Ask that again. I'm sorry, I missed you.
No, what did I say, Sada?
You were talking about the kid and
Isildur, right? So is Isildur because remember they were like Isildur's heir was Aragorn, and like wasn't Isildur the guy that cut off Sauron's fingers in that beginning sequence?
Mm-hmm. He was.
That's the same kid. Okay.
Same kid. Yeah. So what happens is after Numenor falls because the people on it become. They start, like I say, they basically they do not cling to the old ways. They no longer revere the Valar. They start basically doing paganism. Just picture Rome, right? And there are some that are loyal. They're like, we shouldn't be doing this. So they're actually called. If I'm remembering right, and I'm probably not. One of the Valar, Manwë, sends his wife Yavanna to tell them, make your ships and go east because we're about to sink this bitch, and they do. And they become the Dunedain, which is when they get back to Middle Earth, that's the line of kings that Viggo Mortensen's character, Aragorn. Yeah, Aragorn become So Aragorn is the descendant of Isildur. So Isildur basically is the second. With his father and him make it back to Middle Earth. Isildur starts the line of kings. So there it is.
Okay, and this is the proper timeline where he's supposed to be?
It's a little off, but
off. I thought, yeah.
A couple hundred years here and there. It's like whatever, and it's all these millennial kind of
thousands of years, right?
Ages, yeah. So that's that. So So it was from Isildur. They fought. Sauron cut his finger off, but then and then from the trilogy down, one king after the next, not really following suit and keeping the. Gandalf has this whole spiel about it in Return of the King, which you might remember. He's talking to Pippin and telling him, the line of kings was broken. They started again. They again fell into the trap that the Númenóreans did, not staying to the old ways of like revering the gods and so on and so on. So they become guilty of it. And again, Tolkien's kind of commentary on, look, human beings tend to go a good path and then we fall off. Plus, he was a staunch Christian. You have to understand, he's a Catholic guy, I think.
Right.
I don't think he was Anglican, but whatever. Yeah. So he's going to inject all that into his lore. And, There it is.
Yeah. Well, so at last we got the stranger is free to go find himself right now. So he's like in a place somewhere east called Rune.
Okay. Rune.
They told him Sauron when the cultists thought he was Sauron, they were telling him, now you got to go to Rune to find your power or get your power back or something. But he's learned now that he's an Istari, which you might call a wizard. And there's a result that feels more appropriate if entirely foreseeable. Stranger has also taken on what Nori told him as he announces that firmly he is good. And so you get the sense that, he's sure of it. He knows he's good now. He's not a peril, right? He knows he's good. That's that, good and bad. So they're drawing the lines and they return briefly to the Harfoot camp. But there, Nori decides to go with him on search. And after a genuinely emotional farewell to her family, she sets off with him to go, see the world and where he says the line that clearly echoes Gandalf when he was almost lost in the mines of Moria. So he said, surely that puts that, controversy to bed. We definitely have Gandalf half an age early, according to official canon, granted, but like we said, who's counting a few millennia?
Yeah.
Here
And well, so whatever. Because
Yeah.
the five wizards came together, but like I said, if it's even remotely a possibility that Tolkien meant for them to have come and gone in their own ways, and then finally the great threat had to finally be put to bed, he said all of them at once as like a group, like, look, guys, this is what you got to do. But it'd be great if they give you his real name, all of those, and I looked it up the other day and I wrote it down. I'm just looking for it. Each of the five wizards have an original name because they're all
he's like Olorin was his, right?
Yeah, Olorin or Olorin, however you say it, and
Olorin.
The Maiar, which is the plural form, they are sort of the next subset of gods from there's the One, then the Ainur, which are, you remember this from the beginning of the Silmarillion, the creation of the whole world?
Yeah.
Pretty trippy stuff. I think the guy probably, he writes about weed. He might have done mushrooms too.
Yeah.
This is pretty heavy shit. But then beneath the Ainur is the Valar, and then beneath them are the Maya. That's what the wizards are, right?
Right.
So that's I think, and then elves, and then so on from there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you got the angels, and like you said, he's Catholic, so you definitely have your Catholic, your angels, your Satan and God, and all of that stuff is all in
the hierarchies.
Hierarchies, right?
Plus, he's British, don't they? That kind of imperial.
Right there, you go.
Yes, they
do. No, shout out any British people watching. I'm just kidding. I'm American. I haven't. But anyway, I mean, it's at the end of the day, I geek out on this stuff because I find this kind of level of imagination just incredible. This level of being able to tie everything together over centuries of your own timeline. It's impressive. It really is.
It is.
And
that's a perfect word. Very impressive.
And entertaining, sure. I get that it's just that, but you gotta give it to someone that can keep all that together because I lose my wallet every 3 days. So
right.
Yeah. Great guy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've got and then we've got Celebrimbor, whatever how you say it, is trying to figure out a way to use the tiny lump of mithril that they have to save the whole elven population. And they want to because Halbrand comes in and he's like a smith, and so he helps them, with some smelting techniques of how to, cut it with this metal or whatever. And everybody knew it at that point. We knew that was Sauron because Sauron worked with the smiths of the elven smiths, under the name Anatar, which was instrumental in figuring out how to forge the rings of power. And here's Halbrand doing the same thing. So you kind of already see it right there. And there's been a lot of clues. Now, knowing that he's Sauron, looking back, there was tons of clues. I mean, he's basically spelled it out a couple of times. Galadriel, however, she's not sure yet. And so the line died out 1,000 years ago when she realized that his line, like his bloodline, died out 1,000 years ago. That's when she realizes that he can't be who he says he is, and she basically confronts him. And it's an abrupt shift on her part from comrade in arms to wary guard, and one that seems more motivated by the showrunner's desire to keep Galadriel on the side of the angels rather than by overtly suspicious behavior on Halbrand's part. Then again, it's about time someone started asking him some serious questions, because she confronts him and he admits that he is Sauron. I mean, he says it and basically screams it at her. He's like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the scene where he reveals himself right there, and that's him. He's the Lord of the Dark Lord.
Yeah,
and,
like I said, not how it goes. So that's off canon, but
yeah, I know, right? And so, but yeah, he's basically tries to convince her that he's not, that bad. He's just drawn that way, but after many thousands of elf deaths and including, you know, her brother, were just an unfortunate misunderstanding. You know, he's really a good guy, and he wants her to fight alongside him and lead, you know, Middle Earth and save it from itself. And of course, you know, she sees beyond that. She stays strong, and after some messing around and finding out, you know, while he, you know, sort of goes in through her memories, and I guess he's using some sort of magic or telepathy or something, and he like brings her into, you know, some like kind of guy goes in her head. And you know, we see him just once more making his way into Mordor to take possession of, you know, the new volcano that he you know busted out of the ground, because they did give us sort of the new origin of Mordor too.
Yeah.
Not in this episode, but
Yeah,
how
I mean,
accurate is that?
so from what I remember, any inklings and writings he wrote about the land of Mordor is that, you know, slowly Sauron would basically just like, you know, he built Barad-dûr and he would just slowly poison the land, cutting down the trees and this and that. So there was no real specific magical event. It was just really his presence and, you know,
just over time of industry, you know,
breeding orcs, all that stuff.
Yeah, and I always thought that his sort of, it was like sort of like a commentary on industry and stuff like that, like the big factories and stuff like that, the way they sort of took over the landscape and shit like that.
Yeah, yeah. Green of the
Because that was
Shire.
during that time, you know, of the Industrial Revolutions and all that stuff, I think was going on somewhere around there.
Yeah, he basically, I would imagine he was a child when that was. So yeah,
right.
He would witness transition.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, the history of Mount Doom isn't very explicit in his lore, but the show's story does seem to mostly line up, because we know that the land wasn't always called Mordor. It was that was the name likely, you know, that came after Mount Doom's eruption, but there's no mention of the eruption itself being caused by an intentional flood or anything like that. But as for what will happen, you know, to that area next and how long it will take before Sauron, you know, builds his castle or fortress or whatever, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm sure that's what season 2 will be about.
Yeah, it'll, you know, that'll be him just coming up into power probably, and you know, slowly. I mean, how many years? You probably know more about the show itself. Are they already signed for a certain number of seasons?
No. Well, I know season 2 is already
production.
You know, yeah, that's in the bag. That's happening. How long until it comes out? That's what we don't know. But yeah, with the first season finale is done, there's been a lot of questions about, you know, season 2 and what's going to happen and stuff like that and beyond. But thanks to the Rings of Power writer Jennifer Hutchinson, we do know a little bit about where Sauron and Galadriel and the Stranger are headed. After, well, the finale gives some compelling evidence. The White Robes decide that he's not Sauron. Instead, they call him Ishtar, which we know is the wizard, and so we know he's Gandalf. But you know, he turns he turned them into swarms of like butterflies and stuff like that. So that's definitely a move that Gandalf would have done in like Peter Jackson's movie. So, and he picks up his staff, you know, to do that with the magic. So they kind of they say it without saying it.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at him too. I mean, he's known as the Grey Pilgrim. The guy's completely gray, you know, stuff like that. Right. The Wandering Pilgrim. Yeah, because he had all these little, you know, like 8 or 9 different, you know, not official like names like Bill, Mike, Steve, whatever, but more like scripters. So those are.
And so after confronting the White Robes, with the Stranger deciding that he's absolutely not Sauron, he decides that he's got to go to this place, Rune, where they said off in the east, to discover more about himself. And because that's where they told him to go when they thought he was Sauron. So I'm not really sure why he still wants to go there, knowing he's not Sauron, or how that lined up. But in Rune, they'll be able to see the constellation the stranger has been chasing all season, called the Hermit's Hat. And hopefully, he gets the answers that he's been looking for about his identity and his powers.
Yeah. He might be going there to learn more about the enemy if he's learning who he is and what he's there for.
Right. And then what happens in Numenor now that the king is dead, without getting into spoilers about what happens to the Numenorians canonically, suffice it to say that the island nation is a tricky place. Queen Muriel and Elendil have returned home to enlist the country in a fight against the orcs residing in the newly created Mordor. Not that anyone can call it that, but to find that the king has died, and Pharazôn is continuing to rally the residents on a more conservative future for Numenor, out in fear of outriders, elves and stuff like that. So that's kind of where that story's going. And then what will Aaron do with the Palantir? Because before Numenor's king dies, he lets Aaron into the secret passage with the Palantir. And while we don't see what happens after, whether she makes it into the room or touches the crystal ball, that eye thing from Peter Jackson's movies, there was that crystal ball where Sauron could see everything as long as, that wasn't covered. And so that's what I thought it was. I mean, I knew that's immediately what it was. It's almost in like the same room.
Oh, it's absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But considering what Muriel has seen with it, it seems like whatever happens to Irin in that room could have consequences for Numenor. And we the writer Jennifer Hutchinson agrees that that's the case. And while Irin's father Elendil is aligned with those faithful to the elves, the writer said that she's the member of the family who represents the more isolationist Numenorian point of view. She said she's been left behind, and introducing her into that very intimate space with the king allowed for us to hint at how there might be some conflict, which we've been building so much in Numenor, and to make it more intimate with characters that are directly part of the story. End quote. Is Isildur dead? Is another question. No, he can't be dead because we know that he's going to cut off, Sauron's fingers at some point, cut off the ring. He very much shows up later in the canon, But for now, no one in the show knows who he is except for his horse, who took off. But yeah, he's nobody in the show now. And I always thought Isildur was like the king of everything. Like he was the king at some point, but obviously that comes to pass. He's going to be the king at some point or something, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Well, they land. I'm forgetting where they land. I'm actually looking at this map to see if it had Rune on it. But when they come to Middle Earth, sure enough, they settle in the west and then finally make their way slowly east, and Gondor becomes the capital, sort of, for that. Yeah, and that's the seat of that kingship. You hear the king at Edoras and Rohan is supposed to be loyal to them. The idea that all the men are supposed to be loyal to one another, but the king descended from Numenor. That's Gondor is their city, and Isildur is the first in line from that. So yeah, he'll definitely be back, and he'll definitely have to take up that mantle. He'll be in the fight that is at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring. That fight, again, like you said a few times, where Sauron loses the ring, but Isildur picks it up, doesn't destroy it. Story goes on.
Yeah.
So he'll be. We'll see.
Yeah, that's right. And Elrond was like, "Throw it in the fire." He was like, "No." He keeps it. What a dick.
Yeah. What a dick.
What a dick. But yeah, so what does Galadriel do with the knowledge now that Halbrand is Sauron? Because she does she rejects his offer, of course, but she doesn't reveal to anyone that she knows who he is, that we see, essentially following the guidance laid out by the Finrod in her vision, the Finrod that Sauron put her in her vision, to do nothing to stop Sauron's plan. So with Halbrand / Sauron's ring plan moving forward, with the crucial addition of a third ring, and Galadriel looking like a goober at having palled around with her sworn enemy all this time is not a great look. So she's probably just going to keep it under wraps from now. But it certainly sets up some tension for season 2, especially since what does Elrond do now that he knows Sauron is Halbrand? Because although Galadriel doesn't share her news, Elrond is suspicious, and he wanders out to find, the scroll that had the family tree or whatever that leads him to figure out that Halbrand is Sauron. Unfortunately, he finds out too late. Arriving back at the workshop just as the elven rings, the rings of power, are being completed, and Elrond has spent a lot of this season running around trying to more directly help Celebrimbor. Is it Celebrimbor or Celebrimbor?
Celebrimbor. C's like that are a hard C.
Okay, like Celtic. Okay. Right. Like Celtic. Okay, so and Gil-galad and Celebrimbor figure out how to save the elves, harness the power of the Mithril, and generally do good in the world. The question that remains is, will Elrond keep his promise to trust Galadriel and not reveal who Sauron is? And the writer said that the challenge of Galadriel and Elrond's friendship was framing a strong connection, even when the characters shared so little screen time. She said, when they come back together in this episode, it's such a big moment for them, and we sent her away. Now she's back. He's between his guilt. I should have trusted you. And he's also just so happy to see her. It's been a hard time. Now your friend's back. We tried to really invest that in the scene with the two of them talking together about what happened. Luckily, those actors are so wonderful and incredible that I feel they can really play those subtleties, end quote. But yeah, the dilemma, I think, among the important pillars of the episode, I think it's pretty clear. The writer said, I think it's pretty clear at the end. There's a bit of conflict in that moment. She's made a big ask of him. We really didn't want to have that. This is a true test. You said you'll trust me. We really wanted to make sure that came through. Also, the dwarves really weren't in this episode at all either. Doran, like what happens to Doran the fourth in his dwarven succession? Because something we all know is that the dwarves rule, and there should be more of them in the world, right? Doran's plot to maybe overthrow his dad, King Doran III, so he could keep mining for Mithril, and yeah, there's a Balrog somehow down there too. So, but I care more about watching dwarves, tear shit up and generally, do cool shit. But yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if they see when they come back. Yeah, I like I said, I didn't finish the episode, but that's right. Everything I've seen, I saw most of it, and yeah, they weren't in there at all. So
yeah, no, they're not. But so finale, or the overall, I think the finale episode was a banger of an episode, very satisfying, mystery solving conclusion to this first season that focuses on character and story progression rather than, swords and sorcery action. So this show was definitely a story-driven show versus an action adventure fantasy show. And this show has sometimes played a little fast and loose with the canon, but for the most part, it's not been without purpose, taking advantage of the scanty nature of Tolkien's appendices to fill in new stories around the lore is basically what the show is. It's that level of invention, like you were saying, bro, that is very impressive and that has helped it sidestep the usual limitation of prequels, which is that we know everything that's going to happen. And so that's the hurdle that I think they've cleared very well. And while there have been, scattered messy moments in this first season, and events seem to be building inexorably towards the expected tragic partings and clash between good and evil. It's doing so, I think, in a way that leaves open burning questions about exactly how it will all go down, and that's just what you want in a finale. And can we really ask much more of a Lord of the Rings adaptation? They definitely threw the budget.
I love it. I think they're doing a great job. I think it's a story that and plus it not that I assume anyone's thinking this in the writer's room, but if they're trying to write something that can fit into a framework where people who read all the stories, or even a couple of them, or none at all, you can you can follow it along as long as you're paying attention to names, and it might even intrigue you to want to look into things, because when you mention just once or twice and that's it, no backlog, you're like, oh wait a minute, what is that? And then it might draw people into the story a little deeper, and you pick up the books and.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think this show is good. It will be good for getting people to want to read Tolkien stuff.
Yeah, it's excellent. I look forward to.
I think and the only complaints that you really ever hear are the casting and the race of the characters, which is so fucking irrelevant.
Yeah, it's like I told you in a message, even if he had a specific idea in mind for that, it's just shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore, right?
Who fucking cares? It's so, I mean, that's so not. It's like saying, well, because you have a black guy that's supposed to be white, the story isn't. The fucking story's still there. Shut up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's just oh my god, who, why? It's because people worry about it too much that it's even an issue. You know what I mean?
Right. And you're literally telling yourself.
Yeah. But oh well.
Yeah, you're telling yourself. I mean,
it's easy for me to say that. Look what I look like. But still, it's just my whole approach. It's like, oh God, just let it go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, there we are, guys. We covered Black Adam stuff. We covered She-Hulk. We covered House of the Dragon. We covered Rings of Power. I think that's pretty much it, guys. Star Wars. We talked about that. Black Panther 2. A whole lot of stuff. So we'll come back to that Monday. Because we've been on going on 3 hours now, and it's supposed to be the DC Power Hour.
Okay. I'll give my She-Hulk. I totally forgot to do my She-Hulk thoughts. I think I'll do that next time. I'll do that on Monday.
You want to do it now? Can you do it now?
Yeah, I can do it now. I can do it real quick. Because I know because I know you and Stu felt differently than myself.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that.
No, I want to know. We want your perspective too. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So I'll mince, but I didn't really enjoy the finale as much. I felt like it wasn't really satisfying. Like the idea of She-Hulk breaking the fourth wall. I'm okay with that. I think, and no one would dispute that, because you can do it, if it's done well. You can do it in a nuanced way to push your story forward and your characters and everything. But I feel like in order to achieve that, you need competent writers, and I don't think that really exists within She-Hulk. So we have this fourth wall scene where you essentially nullify the entire first season. The one thing they had going for them, the intelligentsia stuff, was basically erased. Like it didn't happen. So I feel bad for people who invested time in the show wanting that to go somewhere, and it was kind of just like written off. I was not one of those people, so I'm not too upset about that. But it kind of sucks, because what are we left with? We're left with a show where nothing really happened. Like She-Hulk didn't really go anywhere. She didn't grow. She didn't experience trials and tribulations. Like, who is she as a character? I don't really know. And this is her first appearance in the MCU. And I just felt like we needed a little more from her. And that's just all on the writing. I feel like they have potential. I've said it before, they have so much potential and they keep messing it up. And I don't know, it's like they like craft the show with the idea that they're going to be trolled. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, so I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, other than that, that's just my review. I didn't really enjoy it too much, but I understand people who just kind of saw it as I don't know, who just saw it for.
I just saw it as a funny comedy. It's just like a very lighthearted thing, like not take it too seriously. You know,
yeah. So I can understand that viewpoint. I don't agree, but I understand it. So yeah,
right. I feel you. And that's the way I feel about your take on it. Valid points. Some things I do agree with you're saying. Some things I don't totally agree, but I can't really argue with you, man. It's really, I think it's, you either just like it or you just don't. There's not really it's not that deep. You know what I mean? But yeah, thank you for that take.
Oh
yeah. Yes. No, we always got to hear Sada's take, man. Because
I like completely forgot. I was like, oh,
I know. I forgot too. I'm sorry, but
oh no, you're fine.
But guys, for the 3 people that still remained here, we thank you as always for hanging out with us. And we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all already know. So we'll see you guys Monday at 6:30. Chef Lebowski, thank you so much, man, for finally making it on, bro. That was dope. We got to do it again, man. You got to come on some other time, bro.
I actually just saw the first episode of She-Hulk last night, so I'm going to dive into that whole season right now.
Nice.
Definitely, yeah. It'll probably be much better as a binge watch too, instead of having to wait a week between seasons. So you'll probably get a lot more out of it than a lot of people. So yeah, enjoy that. But let me know what you thought too about the finale too, because it's deep.
I will. Yeah, I'm going to finish that first. Sada, a pleasure, guys.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk again. Take care.
Yes.
All
right. All right, y'all. Oh, all right, man. See you guys. All right, Sada. We'll see you guys Monday. Peace.